Heng Hong thanks his viewers for tuning into his personal broadcast.
He begins a new series providing food recommendations for novice hunters.
He recommends a specific pork cutlet platter located near the administration center.
For a fancy experience, he suggests a restaurant frequented by top guilds.
A viewer named Mokoko asks the streamer for some hidden gems.
Heng Hong mentions he recently visited a very peculiar cafe.
He explains that the cafe is located near the Abyss Dungeon Gate.
The isolated cafe stands alone with a mysterious, illegible wooden sign.
Inside the quiet shop, the brown-haired woman welcomes him alongside her pets.
A tray arrives as a sharp, quick click sound tap.
He explains he was only thirsty, but the aroma was elite. Taking a sip, he finds the coffee taste to be incredibly good. After visiting the cafe, he notices his health remains full during combat.
The live chat fills with accusations of the stream being viral marketing.
He argues his small viewer count makes a viral promotion unlikely.
He insists he even saw elite guild members leaving the mysterious cafe.
Chat users mock his low rank and refuse to believe his claims.
Upset by the insults regarding his grade, he ends the stream early.
A sudden flash marks the end of his live hunter broadcast. At the counter, the brown-haired woman is overwhelmed by a sudden surge. Her dream of a relaxed life vanishes as a line forms.
She reflects on quitting her corporate job only to remain a servant.
The brown-haired woman breaks down while trying to pour multiple coffees.
She laments her fate of trading corporate slavery for coffee slavery. Hunters are defined as those who display transcendent powers through awakening.
Monsters and dungeons first appeared in the world 23 years ago. Hunters restored global peace by defeating monsters pouring out of dungeons. Becoming a hunter promised wealth and fame, capturing the world's imagination. Crowds swarm for signatures as hunters are treated like global celebrities. The girl feels disconnected from the hunter era as an office worker.
Trapped in a crowded street, she desperately begs to go home.
She dejectedly walks home while complaining about her peanuts for pay.
Her frustration grows as she questions the lack of overtime day. She compares her monotonous life to a spinning hamster wheel while yawning.
A man nearby panics as a sudden loud crack echoes up.
Panic erupts in the street as a purple spatial rift tears open.
A massive energy burst occurs as the rift opens under the ground. She screams as she is swallowed by the void beneath her feet.
A wet splash sounds as the girl lies broken inside the dungeon.
Covered in blood, she reflects on a life spent only working. Dying, she regrets not eating chicken or taking a final vacation.
She weeps over the unfairness of her life ending so miserably.
A familiar ringing sound begins to pierce through her fading consciousness.
The sound is one she has grown familiar with every single morning.
A phone on a bed vibrates loudly with an alarm at 6:40. The girl jolts awake in her bed as the alarm keeps ringing.
Disoriented, she sits up and wonders if her death was a dream. She realizes she is in the apartment she lived in years ago.
She pinches her cheeks, questioning if she has truly returned to the past. She confirms she has returned to 3 years before her death.
The brown-haired woman is confused about her current situation.
She wonders if the dungeon pitied her life and granted her another chance.
Celebrating in her pajamas, she declares her rejuvenation an absolute win. She resolves to live her second life differently, starting with her job. She catches her boss off guard by slamming down a resignation letter.
She flies away like a fairy, leaving her begging boss behind. She refuses to waste her life at the company anymore.
She sets down her cleaning supplies, focused on a singular goal.
She envisions a peaceful life running a cafe in a quiet place. She chooses a secluded location right next to the massive Abyss dungeon.
Panic erupts in the street as a man spots a spatial rift.
The history of spatial rifts and dungeons in Seoul is revealed.
In the present day, the colossal Abyss dungeon looms over the Fae.
She walks through a neighborhood abandoned by everyone after government compensation.
She arrives at a small, rundown building standing alone in the wasteland. Assessing the building, she plans to clean it and add a new sign.
She receives a call and identifies herself to the person on the line.
She is stunned as she recognizes the voice of the caller.
She recalls her cousin, her only remaining family since her parents' death.
Her cousin asks why she quit her job, questioning her motives.
She is immediately annoyed by his predictable and pestering attitude. The silver-haired man on the phone denies being so predictable. The caller is identified as Kwon Ji-woon, Vice Guild Master of Bakun.
He asks what she plans to do if she isn't becoming an hunter. Kwon Ji-woon sits in his guild office, skeptical of her plans. He's shocked when she reveals she's already picked a location.
She provides her new address near the dangerous dungeon gate.
He reacts with shock and disbelief at the location she chose.
She explains she's returning to the cafe their grandmother once ran.
She admits feeling bad about leaving the family property empty for years.
She recalls their childhood visits to the shop with their grandmother. The silver-haired man listens silently as she shares her heartfelt memories. She accidentally calls him brother, signaling the depth of her commitment.
He begins lecturing her on the dangers and her incompetence at coffee.
She's taken aback by a sudden sound or feeling. She agrees to end the call, feeling a bit dazed.
She is surprised that the conversation ended without a longer lecture. She walks toward the interior of the dusty old cafe.
She decides to prioritize cleaning the mess first. Night falls on the isolated building standing near the dungeon.
Dressed in an apron, she prepares to transform the space. She realizes cleaning is easy compared to the misery of office work. She notices an old television set sitting in the corner. She wonders if her grandmother actually used such an ancient model.
She picks up the worn remote, curious about the device.
She wonders if the old television is still functional.
The TV screen suddenly glows with a message verifying her eligibility.
A chime sounds as the screen confirms her status as eligible. A mysterious system voice from the TV welcomes the qualified heir.
Bored by the long introduction, she decides to skip the video.
The television demands her information, leaving the brown-haired woman unable to skip the process. Feeling bored, she decides to humor the strange device and follow its instructions.
Her fingers move across the remote as she enters her name, Kwanreol, and H.
A new prompt asks what she values most, leaving the brown-haired woman momentarily puzzled.
Without a second thought, she aggressively selects the fourth option to prioritize her rest.
The screen announces the test is complete, leaving her confused about the sudden evaluation. She stares at the display, questioning what it means to check for a result.
Her eyes widen in disbelief as a brilliant, blinding light suddenly fills the room.
A massive pillar of radiance erupts from the television, and she questions the phenomenon.
A glowing door manifests before her, accompanied by a final instruction to check her result.
Fearing a trap, the brown-haired woman frantically waves her hands and refuses to open it.
The screen remains persistent, repeating the demand for her to open the mysterious door. Irritated by the repetitive messages, she snaps at the voice to be quiet for a moment.
She finally relents, deciding that since this was her grandmother's home, it should be safe.
Recalling her grandmother's presence here, she convinces herself that nothing dangerous would be inside.
She cautiously peeks through a tiny crack, ready to retreat if a monster appears. Taking a deep breath, she slowly opens the door to witness what lies beyond. Stepping through, she finds herself in a sun-drenched meadow and wonders about her location.
She pauses to appreciate the sensation of a gentle breeze brushing against her skin.
Turning back in a panic, she discovers the door has vanished, leaving her completely stranded.
Desperate and feeling trapped, she flails her arms and begs for someone to help her. A system notification announces the generation of an agent, leaving her startled by the voice. A plump calico cat appears atop a stone pedestal, drawing her immediate attention.
She stares in awe, slowly realizing that the mysterious agent is actually a cat.
Curious, she asks the feline if it arrived through the same door she used.
When the system asks her to name the agent, she reacts with frustration and disbelief.
She looks at the chubby cat, suspecting it might be the reason for her predicament. A sudden digital flash startles her as a glowing blue window appears in the air. She realizes she must follow the system's instructions if she ever hopes to leave this place.
She suggests the name Maui, but the cat's annoyed expression suggests it is unimpressed.
She defends her choice as a classic name while the system prompts her once more.
After trying names like Nabi and Mandu, the cat's growing anger makes her rethink.
She sighs, admitting to herself that she has no talent for naming things at all.
A memory resurfaces as she recalls that her grandmother was the one who named her.
She remembers the meaning of her name, Kwanreol, given to her as the fourth grandchild.
Looking at the cat in her grandmother's shop, she feels a sense of quiet nostalgia.
She looks the feline in the eye and decides to name the new agent Miam. The cat's eyes glow with a sharp green light as the name takes hold.
Surprised by the sudden reaction, she wonders if the naming process was actually successful.
A quiet gasp escapes her as she focuses on the feline's tiny, adorable paws.
Overwhelmed by its cuteness, the brown-haired woman gushes over the cat's small frame.
The cat immediately raises a paw to stop her, sternly commanding her not to touch it.
Stunned into silence, she stands frozen after hearing the feline speak in a human voice.
She shakes her head in disbelief, questioning if her ears are playing tricks on her.
She screams in shock that the cat can talk, while it scoffs at being called ordinary.
The cat introduces itself as a system agent that has been waiting for the rightful visitor.
It complains about the long, boring wait before demanding that she follow its next instruction.
The cat tells her to touch its paw, but she hesitates, feeling slightly intimidated. It tells her to view the contact as a privilege while she is distracted by its paws.
As she touches the pink toe beans, a flash confirms her qualification and activates the system.
A status window confirms the acquisition of 4 new calf-related skills and achievements.
The brown-haired woman points at the glowing blue screen, her eyes wide with total shock. She stammers in disbelief, realizing her awakened class is merely a humble cafe owner. In a daze, the brown-haired woman questions if she has truly just awakened her powers. Narrative text explains that while awakening brings supernatural power, it also offers immense financial potential.
Her mind races with excitement, imagining she might actually become incredibly strong and powerful.
She envisions a cool, muscular version of herself, though Miem remains completely skeptical.
The calico cat tells her to stop daydreaming and finally check her current status already.
A status window manifests, and the brown-haired woman eagerly prepares to discover her rank.
Her face drops as she sees her stats are practically at a non-awakened level.
She questions the point of awakening as a regular owner. Miam reminds her she picked it.
Miam explains that her abilities were determined by the system's earlier personality test results.
She recalls the test where she aggressively chose rest over wealth, honor, or power.
The brown-haired woman wails in despair, cursing her own trash statistics and current predicament.
Miam leaps away, telling her to calm down and follow it to the next destination.
She chases after the calico cat, still complaining about being trapped in this strange place. The glowing white door suddenly reappears, and Miam boasts about its competence as a system agent. They step back into the dark room, and Miam urges her to examine her skills instead. Miam explains that system-granted abilities are what truly define a powerful awakened being. The brown-haired woman suddenly remembers the notification regarding the 3 specific skills she just acquired.
She regains hope, knowing that even with poor stats, good skills can lead to a success.
With renewed excitement, the brown-haired woman commands the system to reveal her 3 precious new skills. Skill 1 improves drink quality inside the shop but is currently limited only to instant coffee. Skill 2 is a bathroom cleaning ability, causing the brown-haired woman to react with absolute outrage. Skill 3 claims that smiling will improve her mood, leaving her skeptical about its actual utility. She screams at the screen, baffled by the uselessness of the skills she was granted. Curious, the brown-haired woman decides to test the smile skill to see if it works. She beams with a forced, radiant smile as a bright sunflower background blooms around her. The effect vanishes instantly, leaving her looking completely deadpan and unimpressed by the supposed mood boost.
She throws a tantrum, shouting that she doesn't feel any happier after using the skill.
Her scream of frustration echoes from the building as night falls on the silent street outside.
Kwanri-il sighs, looking at her status window and feeling her life is once again difficult.
The brown-haired woman sits dejectedly while Miam loudly munches on its meal nearby.
A final, quiet clack sounds as Miam finishes its bowl, satisfied with the good meal.
Miam tells her not to be disappointed, offering to help her through this desperate situation.
It asserts its identity as the 7th system agent while the woman gushes over its cuteness.
She gently scratches the cat's chin, and Miam cannot help but purr at her touch.
Miam snaps back to its professional self, demanding she re-examine her skill window immediately. She notices a hidden quest tab on the interface, much to the calico cat's triumph. Miam explains that completing system quests will provide her with incredibly valuable rewards. Intrigued, the brown-haired woman asks what kind of quest she is expected to complete first.
The tutorial quest requires her to use her skills to mix exactly 100 cups of coffee.
She realizes the quest involves making instant coffee while Miam prompts her to check the rewards.
The rewards include experience points and 50 rubies, which immediately piques her intense interest. Miam explains that 1 ruby is equivalent to 1 million won in the hunter market. Realizing 50 rubies means 50 million won, she screams in joy, startling the calico cat. The title SSS Grade Café in front of the dungeon appears against a decorative circular crest. A tray is set down with a sharp tap holding a water kettle and cups. Eager for the massive reward, the brown-haired woman prepares to start making the coffee.
Miam stops her, insisting that she must use her skill to make the coffee properly.
Miam urges her to try, and the brown-haired woman reluctantly agrees. She reaches out to tap a cup icon on the blue interface. Her skill activates, automatically guiding her hands as she prepares the coffee. Startled by the automatic movement, she is told to check the results. She views the coffee's status window, seeing a massive recovery speed increase. Surprised by the recovery buff, she listens as Miam explains the effect. She is amazed by the unique coffee. Miam calls it a specialty. Realizing the skill's value, she panics when the effect timer starts decreasing. Eager not to waste it, she quickly drinks the entire cup. Her eyes widen as she experiences an intense reaction to the taste. Narration describes the perfect blend of bitter and sweet flavors in her mouth. Feeling elevated, she questions if mixed coffee was always this delicious. A notification confirms her quest progress after finishing the first cup. She pauses, feeling as though something about this process is strangely familiar. She recalls a mobile management game, noting the similarities to her quest. She chuckles to herself while Miam watches her with a confused expression. A small purple-haired girl in a witch hat cries while holding a creature. Drowning in gold coins, she imagines becoming rich by completing the quest. Miam notes her sudden, overwhelming confidence in finishing the CAF's tutorial. Miam warns her that something strange is beginning to manifest behind her. She dismisses the cat's concerns, focused entirely on earning money quickly. Recalling her gaming experience, she ignores Miam's advice to take it slow. Her face suddenly pales as a sickly expression takes over her features. Collapsed in bed with a racing heart, she is checked on by Miam. A status window warns that she has consumed far too much caffeine. Miam tells her to be more careful after she ignores the limits. Horrified, she realizes the daily limit will delay her quest completion significantly. Miam lounged comfortably, reminding her that she wanted a life of rest. Resting in bed, she admits that she did wish for more leisure. She wails in frustration about the setback during the tutorial quest. Lying helpless in bed, the brown-haired woman begs to be saved. 2 men standing near a vending machine wonder where it came from.
The machine offers free coffee but warns against taking more than needed.
The men find the situation suspicious and decide not to try it.
In a vision, she desperately begs people to take her coffee.
She returns to the cafe exhausted, sighing over her lack of progress. She realizes her skills require actual customers to enter and drink the coffee.
Looking at her simple menu, she questions who would visit the shop.
Distraught by the slow pace, the soul of a wailing gamer repairs. A sudden loud crash startles Kwan Ryul as Miam leaps away in shock. Looking outside, she sees an office worker collapsed among many loose papers.
She rushes out of the cafe to see if the person is okay.
The woman says she is just exhausted from an overwhelming workload.
Kwan Ryul's eyes sparkle as she realizes she has found a potential customer.
She identifies the woman as a drained employee, the perfect test subject. The tired woman tries to leave, but Kwan Ryul stalks her. She insists the woman rest in her cafe, seeing a chance for success.
A flashback shows a young girl with glasses admiring the secrets of dungeons.
To pursue her passion, the young woman studied diligently for an anicap.
She successfully applied to the Dungeon Bureau despite everyone's warnings.
A man with gray hair and glasses looks skeptical about her knowledge.
The purple-haired woman, Gina Kim, confirms she memorized the entire regulations manual.
Surrounded by flowers, Gina Kim explains she also memorized the ecology reports.
The interviewer shouts his acceptance while another woman weeps with pure joy.
Gina Kim is hauled away while excitedly asking to start dungeon-related tasks.
An official ID card identifies the purple-haired woman as a bureau assistant.
Her boss explains that her job involves managing all the local hunters.
Gina Kim suffers through rude hunters, ignored phone calls, and endless errands.
After only 1 week, Gina has already become a bitter hunter-hater.
Walking through a wasteland, Gina laments being a servant instead of researching.
She stumbles over a rock, calling her entire recruitment process a fraud.
With a loud Gina falls, scattering her documents across the ground.
Lying defeated among her papers, Gina Kim seriously contemplates quitting her job.
Real checks on her, but Gina claims she just collapsed from exhaustion.
Gina Kim tries to leave, but the brown-haired woman urgently stops her.
Radiant flowers bloom as Ryul takes Gina's hands and offers her comfort. Inside the cafe, Ryul invites the exhausted woman to rest and relax.
Looking around the shop, Gina Kim is identified as a drained employee.
Ryul offers a cup of coffee, hoping her skill-buff drink actually helps.
Gina Kim takes a cautious sip of the warm, paper-cupped instant coffee.
The sweet taste and aroma instantly melt away all of Gina's worries.
Gina apologizes for her emotional rambling while Ryul warmly offers a refill.
A quick clack sounds as Gina finishes 2 cups of the coffee.
A blue system window confirms that quest progress has increased to 28. Feeling revitalized, Gina Kim politely announces she will be heading back out.
Gina Kim smiles gratefully as she prepares to leave the cozy cafe.
Ryul watches her go, noticing that Gina Kim looks much more energized.
Gina Kim still stumbles slightly as Miam leaps onto the counter to die.
Miam asks about her expression. She admits having a lot on her mind.
Ryul reflects on her own past experiences with heavy, exhausting steps.
Ryul values the quest but truly wants to help her new customer.
Miam is annoyed when Ryul says only humans can truly understand.
Eyes snap wide open with a sudden, intense burst of pure energy.
Gina Kim wakes up without alarms, amazed that her chronic headache vanished.
Sparkling with joy, Gina Kim celebrates being completely free of chronic fatigue.
She recalls the miserable, hellish grind she endured just the day before.
Gina remembers Ryul's kind face offering her a much-needed short break.
An intense realization strikes Gina as she recalls the cafe owner's encouragement. With a loud bang, Gina Kim bursts into the cafe, startling the cap. Ryul warmly welcomes her back and asks if she got home safely. Gina Kim approaches the counter to discuss the coffee from the previous day. Ryul offers a refill and Gina Kim enthusiastically accepts the drink. A deep breath precedes Gina Kim finally tasting the special coffee again. Relieved, Gina realizes that the coffee truly was the solution she needed.
Gina Kim asks if Ryul uses a secret recipe for the coffee. Surrounded by a dazzling aura, Ryul reveals it is just regular coffee.
Overcome with gratitude, Gina Kim lunges across the counter to hug her. Narrative text describes Gina's future memory of meeting an office worker's angel.
Years later, Gina Kim has successfully become the director of the bureau.
A creak sounds from the door as Gina visits the cafe once again. Gina Kim confirms she enjoyed her drink while the system tracks their progress.
Ryul imagines her massive payout while Mia mocks her obvious greed.
A revitalized Gina Kim glows with happiness after finishing her coffee. Gina Kim prepares to leave as Ryul asks about her steckle.
Gina Kim explains the upcoming Abyss tutorial dungeon opening while Ryul listens.
The two women discuss the tutorial dungeon's purpose as hunter trading.
Gina Kim mentions an American veteran hunter's arrival, sparking a familiar memory.
Ryul realizes with horror that she recognizes this specific sequence of events.
Visions of screaming people and monster attacks fill Ryul's panicked mind.
Grotesque, grinning monsters loom in Ryul's dark recollection of the future.
A news report describes a fatal monster outbreak involving a foreign hunter.
Real is paralyzed with shock after recalling the forgotten tragic news. Real urgently asks Gina Kim to specify the location of the previous attack. Panic sets in as Real realizes her cafe is the target.
Terrified, Real desperately hopes there is still time to prevent disaster.
Gina Kim notices Real's pale face as she asks for the timeline. Hearing the 3-day deadline, Real curses the lack of preparation time. Back at home, Real reflects on the gravity of the situation. Recalling her past death, she fears monsters will invade her front yard.
Real frantically prepares to flee with Cereal while Miam questions her.
She warns the cat that a monster invasion is imminent in days. Miam is skeptical, asking how she could possibly know the future. Real considers revealing the truth about her aggression to the talking cat. Real tells Miam to listen carefully to a very serious secret. Real explains that she died and regressed 3 years into the past. The brown-haired woman looks intently at the cat during her confession. Miam dismisses the confession, claiming regression is a common occurrence in life. Miam focuses on the upcoming incident while a frustrated Real panics. Miam explains that the Abyss system's monster behavior is normally predictable. The cat's crucial explanation is censored by the system, confusing Real. Real realizes something is deliberately interfering with her hearing the truth. Red system error windows flash as Miam stops their explanation abruptly. Miam theorizes the monsters are fleeing from something terrifying they cannot identify. Real is horrified when Miam suggests a higher-ranked monster is coming. Real packs her bags in a frenzy despite the cat's skepticism. She pauses her packing, weighed down by the need to avoid danger. Real grips her suitcase, feeling guilty about running away alone.
She worries for Gina Kim's safety if the ordinary people face monsters.
Real knows she cannot openly warn people about the future events.
Panicked, she searches for a way to help without revealing her identity.
Passing civilians are startled by a suspicious man lurking in the shadows.
Real reaches for a public payphone to make a secret call. Disguised in a hoodie and mask, Real holds Miam while on. A click sounds as the Dungeon Management Agency answers her call. Miam stops Real from revealing her real name over the phone. Using a fake name, Real prepares to report the danger.
She reports strange noises and shaking ground near the 3rd dungeon gate.
Overjoyed, Real thanks the operator for promising to strengthen the patrols.
A sharp click sounds as Real hangs up the payphone receiver.
Real walks away feeling like a hero undercover as an evacuee. Quan Real suggests finding a pet-friendly hotel for their stay.
Miam prioritizes Cereal, though Real doubts hotels will provide it.
The brown-haired woman greets a new visitor with a puzzled welcome. A blonde man in a brown coat stands at the door. Real panics over the language barrier while offering her assistance. The brown-haired woman is confused by the man's wordless gesture. James praises the calf while Gina Kim urgently redirects him. Gina Kim explains she was guiding the hunter to the tutorial. Gina introduces James Jack Smith, whom Real recognizes as a hunter. Real realizes James is a hunter who died in the past. The brown-haired woman wonders why the doomed hunter visited her calf. Gina notes the danger report was received and patrols are starting. Real plans to save James by offering him coffee and rest. The brown-haired woman optimistically looks forward to enjoying her day.
James Jack Smith questions the nature of the beverage served.
James dismisses the drink as fake coffee, much to Real's annoyance. James remains skeptical while Real stares at him in frustration. Real fumes over the blonde man's prejudice against mixed coffee. Composing herself, the brown-haired woman offers James just one sip. A blue system window confirms that a skill has been activated. The system window announces that the target's favorability is increasing. James notes the pleasant aroma as Real observes her skill working. The blonde man agrees to take just one sip of coffee. James Jack Smith shudders visibly after taking a sip of coffee. James Jack Smith is stunned by the outstanding quality of the drink. James declares the coffee phenomenal and unlike anything he has tasted. Overwhelmed, James invites the extraordinary barista to visit America. James excitedly promises a trip to the Grand Canyon, which Real declines. James Jack Smith offers to visit dungeons instead of the canyon. Real considers the dangerous effectiveness of her smile skill. The blonde man's expression suddenly shifts to a sharp, serious look. James instructs Gina Kim to get behind him for protection. Gina Kim is startled by a sudden, loud boom. A blue system window announces that a monster has appeared. James notes a monster rift as Real shocks at the timing. James Jack Smith turns his back as he prepares for combat.
James vows to defeat the monster as a sharp screech sounds.
Gina Kim confirms the monster's death following the short tape.
Gina praises the hunter while James claims the kill was easy.
Miam peers over a chair, asking what happened in the calf. The tricolor cat joyfully celebrates surviving the sudden monster attack. Real reflects on how her life has diverged from the past. The brown-haired woman feels relieved at having avoided a disaster. Gina Kim leaves to contact headquarters while Real says goodbye. James continues to praise the coffee's phenomenal taste while drinking. James Jack Smith asks where he can buy the special coffee. Real knows the coffee secret is just a basic skill. Real suggests James can find similar coffee sachets at supermarkets.
A heavy thud sounds as Real notices something is wrong.
James Jack Smith collapses while gasping, leaving Real in shock. Real panics as a massive A-rank dark cave bear appears. The brown-haired woman realizes this monster far outclasses previous threats.
Real holds the bloodied hunter, fearing no one can survive this. A hand glows as a dying voice urges an immediate escape.
Real vows to fight as she notices James activating a skill.
Bleeding and paralyzed, the blonde man begs her to leave him. Real screams for the hunter to hold on despite the dinker. Internal panic rises as she sees the blonde man's condition worsening.
Desperate, Real calls on her cat for an emergency solution.
The monster strikes a shield while Miam explains its abnormal nature.
Real demands clarity when Mia mentions a higher being's control.
The brown-haired woman shouts for the cat to wait.
Miam points toward a door leading to an alternate escape dimension. Real refuses to die before even completing her first tutorial quest.
Darkness looms as Real fears it is too late to save games.
A blinding light fills the scene, signaling an unavoidable encounter.
Real blinks in confusion as the atmosphere shifts.
The bear suddenly halts its attack, appearing strangely hesitant.
A mysterious presence intimidates the monster within its own domain.
A cold voice commands the beast to leave immediately.
Intense power radiates as the monster cowers before the intruder.
Bewildered, Real watches the massive bear disintegrate into ashes.
She searches for the source of the mysterious, authoritative voice.
A man steps forward, prompting Real to ask who is there.
Shock registers on the brown-haired woman's face at the arrival. A black-haired man with glasses appears amidst a field of roses.
The well-dressed stranger asks if the brown-haired woman is all right.
A system window identifies his official hunter management agency backs.
Relief washes over Real as she realizes they are faved. The brown-haired woman cradles the unconscious, bloodied porn hunter.
The black-haired hunter carries James while Real wonders about backup.
Stunned, the brown-haired woman looks on as the situation changes.
A crowd of emergency workers and reporters suddenly swarms the scene.
A reporter questions the massive, unannounced arrival of the hunters.
The black-haired man urgently calls for medical help for the casualty.
James remains motionless, his face pale and stained with blood.
Real asks if the blonde hunter can still be saved.
The brown-haired woman waits anxiously for a response. A silver-haired man in a white coat arrives with authoritative presence. Real is shocked to recognize the famous high-ranked healer, Quan Ji-woon.
Juan offers to treat her while she questions his sudden arrival.
Real dismisses her own minor injuries, prioritizing the blonde hotar.
The silver-haired man focuses his attention on the medical emergency.
Ji-woon begins healing James while Real places her hopes in En. A tense silence follows as the healer assesses the damage.
Ji-woon notes the severity of the wounds is worse than anticipated.
Real explains the monster was an A-rank black bear.
The silver-haired healer reflects on the rarity of such a creature.
Ji-woon warns that the cursed claws will resist standard healing magic. The healer determines the curse must be purged for a full recovery.
Real is shocked to learn that no hunter in Korea possesses the ability to lift an A-rank curse.
Looking at the dying James on the stretcher, Real fears there is no way left to save him.
Desperate to help, a firm squeeze sounds as the brown-haired woman clenches her blood-stained fists.
Ji-woon asks Kwon Real what has gotten into her as she resolves not to just stand there doing nothing.
Standing amidst the rubble, Real desperately asks if there is anything she can do to help the situation.
Real recalls that James Jack Smith had already consumed 2 cups of her special instant coffee.
A system window reveals that her instant coffee provides a massive 100% boost to recovery speed. A quick rustle sounds as Real prepares a third coffee sachet, hoping the recovery effect will strengthen.
Despite her doubts, Real decides to hold on to the tiny sliver of hope that her skill might work.
The system confirms the activation of her skill as high concentration causes the drink's quality to skyrocket.
The silver-haired healer Ji-woon urgently tells the others to step aside for a second.
Surprised by her sudden interference, Ji-woon asks Kwon Real what she's holding in her hand.
Real begs to try just once as a system window shows her coffee has reached a perfect condition.
Confusion strikes Ji-woon as Real prepares to pour the beverage into the unconscious hunter's mouth.
A soft splash sounds as the special coffee is poured directly into the mouth of the blonde man.
A gulping sound follows as James Jack Smith swallows the mysterious remedy. Real urges the healer to take this chance and try to heal James one more time.
Ji-woon agrees and a soft thud sounds as he places his hands on the hunter to resume treatment.
Intense healing energy emanates from Ji-woon's hands, bathing the injured man in a brilliant white light.
Panic-stricken, Real screams for James to wake up while the healer focuses his powers.
A pained, wet sound follows as the blonde man coughs up blood, appearing to be in great agony. Real screams in terror, fearing that the hunter's condition is worsening despite the treatment.
A discarded, blood-stained paper cup lies abandoned on the dusty ground amidst the chaos.
Fearing she made things worse, Real despairs over failing to change the future after seeing a tragic news report. Ji-woon shouts with renewed resolve as he pushes his healing abilities to their absolute limit. The black-haired man in sunglasses acknowledges the situation with a strained expression.
A firm squeeze sounds as Real grips the hunter's leg, whispering James's name in desperation.
She makes a tearful promise to visit every dungeon in America with him if he only wakes up. Tears stream down Real's face as she pleads for James not to die on her. Surprised observers note that the legendary healing light is inexplicably failing to work on the casualty. The black-haired man watches the scene intently through his dark sunglasses.
Stunned by the overwhelming display of power, he notes that the intensity of the light is insane. Medical personnel and hunters stand back as the final, desperate attempt at healing illuminates the area.
Voices call out to James in the darkness, checking to see if he can hear them.
A soft gasp sounds as James Jack Smith slowly opens his eyes and sees the reflection of the crying woman.
Waking up weak and confused, James Jack Smith asks where he is.
Overjoyed, Real asks if he just spoke, realizing that the hunter is finally conscious.
A wave of relief washes over her as she realizes that the instant coffee actually worked.
A firm squeeze sounds as Real grips the stretcher, overwhelmed by the miracle she witnessed.
Weeping with gratitude, Real tells James that he is safe now and thanks goodness for his recovery.
The black-haired man asks if the others saw the miracle that just took place.
A satisfied smile crosses the man's face as he notes that the treatment actually worked.
Bystanders celebrate and check their phones as the life and death crisis is finally resolved.
Jawoon announces that the emergency treatment is complete and orders James to be transported to the hospital.
A steady rattle sounds as the wheels of the stretcher roll away, moving the hunter to safety.
James calls out to Real as he is moved, prompting a surprised response from her.
James Jack Smith admits he is unsure if she will believe what he is about to say.
A splash sounds as coffee is poured into a cup, highlighting the extraordinary remedy. Real is left speechless and wide-eyed by the hunter's sudden and unexpected recovery.
James thanks her, stating that he might not have survived if it hadn't been for her intervention.
Two hands clasped together in a moment of intense emotional connection. An ambulance drives away while the silver-haired healer and Real watch.
The silver-haired man looks on with a calm and stoic expression.
Tears stream down the brown-haired woman's face as she finally lets go.
Jawoon reflects on the trauma of seeing someone nearly die right before them.
Real covers her face, trembling with the weight of her immense relief.
A sudden, sharp gasp sounds as the healer questions her presence here.
In a comical moment, Jiwoon scolds Ryul for choosing such a dangerous career.
The silver-haired man urgently asks what exactly she fed to the casualty. Real panics and claims the remedy was actually a potion James entrusted to her. Jawoon looks suspicious as Real continues her desperate lie about the potion.
A loud voice calls for Hunter Kwon Jiwoon, needing him for another emergency.
Real urgently pushes the healer away, telling him to hurry and help. Jiwoon calls out to a man named Han Yi-sung to step toward.
The healer asks the black-haired man to guard Ryul so she doesn't escape.
Jiwoon strictly orders Real to wait for him while she claims she's Ren.
Shock registers on Real's face as the well-dressed man addresses her by name.
Chibi Isung confirms her identity as Jiwoon's cousin based on what he's heard. Real worries about her reputation, wondering what exactly the man has been told. A bubble reveals that Han Yi-sung is the Vice Guild Master of Changra.
The black-haired man smiles charmingly, radiating the aura of a high-ranked hunter.
Stunned, Real realizes she is standing before a member of the elite Changra Guild.
Excited bystanders watch a newly dropped video of the legendary hunter Muon.
A narration box reflects on her previous ignorance regarding the world of hunters.
A glowing blue sigil represents one of the nation's top 3 elite guilds.
Other prominent guilds are described as being corporate-style or family-run organizations. The Changra Guild is noted for remaining mysterious and rarely making public appearances.
A shadowed figure represents the country's top-ranked hunter and leader of Changra.
Intimidated, Ryul feels small while standing alone with such an incredible guild official.
The brown-haired woman swallows hard, glad she chose to lie about the coffee.
A film strip layout depicts Ryul's past struggles as a low-ranked F-class hunter.
Real decides to keep her awakening a secret from her cousin for now.
A quick pitter-patter sounds as Real suddenly bolts away from the confused man.
A final declaration states that family matters should be handled within the family.
A heavy panting sounds as Real hunches over, exhausted from her sudden escape. She sighs, lamenting how hard it is to run a quiet little cafe.
Real peers around the rubble, searching for the tall hunter who saved her. She realizes the mysterious man has vanished and wants to say thank you. Gina Kim runs toward her friend, screaming Real's name in a complete panic.
Sobbing loudly, Gina apologizes for being absent while such a disaster occurred nearby.
Real comforts the crying girl while thinking that everything is finally taken care of.
A low rumble sounds as the ruins of the destroyed cafe are shown.
Gina firmly grabs her hands, urging her friend not to worry about the damage. The girl explains that the management office will be handling all the cafe repairs.
Real is left speechless by the unexpected news of the free building repairs. A look of pure, comical shock takes over the brown-haired woman's face. The scene shifts to a grand, sparkling hotel building standing tall in the Met.
Inside a luxurious room, Real marvels at the incredible and high-end facilities provided.
She imagines Miam the cat feasting at the hotel's expansive breakfast buffet. Real wonders where her magical companion has disappeared to during the move.
A weary fuse sounds as Real collapses onto a bed, finally resting.
She notes that the weight of everything that happened is finally sinking in.
She recalls the terrifying image of the massive cave bear looming over her. Looking at James's smiling face, she reminds herself that she saved him.
Despite the danger, she celebrates actually saving James, unlike in the original timeline. The brown-haired woman vibrates with pure, unadulterated joy over her success.
A system window grants an achievement for avoiding her first fatal death crisis. Riol looks surprised as the glowing blue notification screen appears before her. Confusion strikes as she fixates on the word first regarding her death crisis.
Panic sets in as she realizes these life-threatening events could happen again.
She questions the reward item, a 5-star Yggdrasil branch used for interior decor.
Chibi Riol sulks, disappointed that her life was saved for a simple decoration.
A frustrated scream echoes through the night as she questions who designed the system. A red-haired streamer named Hanghong starts a live broadcast about James's return.
James arrives at the airport with flowers and many boxes of instant coffee.
The streamer and his audience laugh upon realizing James bought actual mixed coffee.
Hanghong laughs at a photo of James looking blissfully happy while drinking coffee.
A chilling silence fills the stream as Hanghong's expression suddenly turns dark.
He types furiously, claiming Muon is the strongest hunter and above all others.
Hanghong demands a ban for anyone comparing a lower ranker to the domestic #1. He insists that while Muon is elite, Han Isiang is also a top-tier support. A hand slams on a desk as a commentator compares Moonwon to Choi Cedric. From behind, a man wonders why Choi Cedric fans always target the reclusive Muon.
Choi Cedric is described as an insanely strong S-rank hunter ranked domestic #2. Hanghong shouts that Muon is the legendary creator of the Dungeon Management Agency.
He shows an old, ominous photo of the corrupt Awakener Center from years ago. The streamer discusses dark rumors about human experiments conducted at the old center.
A firm squeeze sounds as Hanghong explains Muon left the center in a rage.
A cheerful ta-da sounds as he explains the center was replaced by the agency.
He credits their current freedom from government slavery entirely to the legendary Muon.
Chat bubbles scroll by as viewers wonder why Muon keeps his identity a secret. Feeling exhausted, the streamer says goodbye and prepares to turn off the broadcast.
A digital chime sounds as a notice confirms Hanghong's livestream has ended. A text from Gina appears, announcing that the cafe repairs are finally complete.
A long, weary sigh sounds as the boots come to a halt. Riol smiles sadly, mourning the end of her carefree life at the luxury hotel.
She notes that since construction is over, she needs to start cleaning the cafe.
Entering the building, she looks around with a confused expression on her face. She realizes that Gina already organized the interior and thinks her friend is the best. The brown-haired woman stands in the middle of the room, looking absolutely stunned.
Spotting the calico cat, she urgently asks where it has been this whole time.
Miam looks down guiltily, claiming that the system had called it away for a bit.
Riol holds the cat up suspiciously, questioning its weird behavior during the bear tap. She gives in with a tired sigh, hugging the cat and feeling glad it's safe.
She notices that the storage door has returned to its normal, blue glowing state. She recalls the overwhelming pressure she felt when the door had turned blood-red.
A loud clack sounds as she grabs the handle, determined to secure the dangerous door.
Miam watches as Riol explains she must remove all potential dangers before doing something.
Holding a coffee sachet, Riol excitedly announces she is finishing her tutorial quest. A system window tracks her progress, showing she has mixed 99 out of 100 coffees. A system window shows 99 out of 100 coffees mixed.
Riol reflects on the massive struggles faced while mixing the coffees. The brown-haired woman cries with relief over her nearly completed quest.
A sudden, loud zoom sounds as a blur passes the cafe. Riol turns around in surprise, wondering if she saw something moving.
She panics while asking Miam if the cat noticed the passerby.
A quick clack sounds as she sets down her coffee cup. Brandishing a pan, Riol screams for the world to let her finish.
Chibi Riol searches the rubble outside while holding her frying pan. She is confused to find absolutely nothing outside the cafe ruins.
Riol sighs, concluding that she must have imagined the sudden movement.
Her eyes widen as she feels a soft, unexpected squish nearby.
Someone groans in pain as she accidentally steps on a foot.
A black-haired man in a hoodie and glasses crouches amain. Riol screams in shock while the man requests her silence.
She demands to know his identity as he gestures for silence. She scolds the stranger for sneaking into her shop and hiding.
Riol questions why the hooded man is squatting by her door.
She stares at the mysterious man with a look of pure bewilderment. A sparkle sounds as he removes his cap and requests sanctuary. Riol blushes, stunned by the handsome man surrounded by floating flowers. She allows him inside and invites him to sit anywhere comfortable.
She decides his good looks justify ignoring her usual rational caution. The black-haired man glances around the interior of the rebuilt cafe.
A glowing blue vine mark is visible on the man's dark sleeve.
Riol realizes the man is affiliated with the elite Changna Guild. She notes that his outfit and mark are definitely the guild emblem.
The man acknowledges being recognized while Riol trusts his guild identity. He confirms that he is indeed a hunter belonging to Chonat. He explains he is hiding here because many people seek him. Riol narrows her eyes, remembering his claim about being faced. Seeing his silly grin, she thinks he looks weak and naive. She imagines the man failing to defeat even a weak monster. Riol concludes he is a low ranker avoiding more powerful hunters.
The man asks for the menu, catching Riol completely off guard.
She reminds herself to focus on mixing the final quest coffee.
She laments being unable to properly savor her final quest goal. She misinterprets his expression as judgmental toward her small, simple cafe.
Ryul serves him a cup of instant coffee on a tray.
The man is shocked by the coffee's incredibly delicious and unique taste. She feels proud that her 4-star mixed coffee has good status.
Ryul waits expectantly for the final quest completion alert to appear. She worries that the system might be lagging after her task.
Startled by his voice, she claims that nothing is actually wrong. Ryul desperately decides to change the subject to avoid more suspicion.
She asks Ki Yu-yan if he has ever seen the Guildmaster.
A silhouette depicts the mysterious, top-ranked hunter known as King Muon.
She wonders why elite hunters choose to hide their true identities. He mentions a rumor that the master might hide due to being ugly.
Ryul laughs, glad she successfully changed the topic of their conversation. A hand sets down a cup as a quick clack sounds.
Ki Yu-hyun says thank you while Ryul asks why the sudden change occurred.
The twins wonder where they hid and suspect it was over there.
Ki Yu-hyun says goodbye as a sudden whoosh sounds while he vanishes.
Ki Yu-hyun crouches among glowing blue flowers as a sparkle sounds.
Ryul notes that he was incredibly fast to disappear so quickly.
Ryul thinks that the man looks strangely familiar upon further reflection. A sudden notification startles Ryul, announcing her completion of the tutorial quest.
She wonders why the quest window only opened up just now.
Boots walk along a dusty path as a rhythmic thud sounds.
Ki Yu-hyun touches a glowing golden portal as a shimmer sounds.
Ki Yu-hyun looks back with a quiet humph as he leaves.
A narrative box explains that a cult resurrected a demon god in the future.
A heavy boom sounds as the top floor of the abyss is shown.
Top-tier hunters assemble into a raid team to conquer the worst demon god. Someone shouts for everyone to be ready as the gate begins opening.
A creak sounds as the massive stone gate slowly swings open. A red warning window states that the key has not been prepared.
A red system window declares she is unqualified to open the gate. A sickening crunch sounds as Ki Yu-hyun groans in immense pain.
Ki Yu-hyun wakes up in his room after his eyes opened again.
A narrative box repeats that he has finally opened his eyes. Ki Yu-hyun realizes he returned to the past and got a second chance.
He thinks for himself as a twin finds him after searching everywhere.
The twins explain they were ordered to bring their guildmaster back. He tells them not to call him guildmaster in public.
The twins apologize profusely to their leader while an eek sounds.
The twins mention their new roles while Ki Yu-hyun plans to retrain her.
Ki Yu-hyun decides that something else is much more important for him now. He notes that the tutorial dungeon break changed and James actually survived. He notices a crock in the future because of a new cafe.
He explains that only awakened people can see the guild work.
A system window notes only awakened individuals can see the mark.
Ki Yu-hyun ponders the implications of what this discovery actually means.
He looks at Ryul and concludes she must be an awakened too. He wonders why he cannot sense even a trace of ether from her.
His boots come to a sudden halt as he thinks, no way.
Ki Yu-hyun wonders if Ryul is hiding her power right in front of him. He suspects the cafe is just a cover for a powerful hunter.
He considers taking her out to remove any variables in the changing future.
The twins bicker behind him as he notes one failure is enough.
He decides it is still too early to judge her as a threat.
He admits the cafe is suspicious, but the coffee was quite good.
Ki Yu-hyun decides to watch the situation for a little longer for now.
He asks his escorts if there are any rumors going around about him. Ryul laughs at the ugly rumors, while Ki Yu-hyun regrets asking about them. Ryul sees her stat screen and complains about only gaining 1 intelligence point.
Mium notes Ryul was most excited about receiving the 50 rubies anyway.
Ryul celebrates the 5 million won value and asks how to cash out. Mium explains the registration and hunter market process, surprising the confused cafe owner.
Ryul protests that she just wants to be a regular cafe owner.
Ryul collapses in despair while Mium suggests checking the new rewards.
A system window reveals a new recipe for a mythical Americano.
Chibi Ryul wonders if the Yggdrasil fruit is a Fanti beam.
The brown-haired woman scratches her head while trying to recall something.
Ryul remembers receiving a mysterious interior item as a previous reward. Ryul holds a twig and asks Mium how to harvest fruit.
The woman is startled as a magical book appears before her.
A chime sounds as a system notification introduces the Aetherwiki toll.
The system explains the interdimensional encyclopedia must be nurtured by her. Chibi Ryul is baffled by an encyclopedia that can actually talk. The pages flip while the book agrees to share its secrets.
The encyclopedia provides detailed instructions on how to grow mythical fruit.
Ryul is overwhelmed by the complex work required for harvesting beans.
Mium explains that aether-infused soil is only found inside dangerous dungeons. Ryul screams in shock and terror at the mention of dungeons.
Ryul trembles as Mium claims the required soil is nearby. The calico cat looks toward the door leading into the storage.
Mium gestures toward the glowing blue door to the portal world.
Chibi Ryul peeks around a wall, terrified of the storage room. Ryul tearfully laments the extreme effort needed for a simple coffee.
A bright red window announces that she is officially quitting everything.
A large red bubble declares her refusal to do any work.
A chime sounds as Ryul's eye widens at a notification. A quest window appears, forcing her to make an Americano.
Real picks up Miam while insisting harvesting beans is too hard. She decides her cafe is fine using regular, simple coffee games. A boom sounds as Miam questions her commitment to quitting quests. A chime sounds as Real celebrates her 5,000,001 fortune.
Real plans a long, lazy vacation while walking away with Miam.
A chorus of chimes sounds as system alarms overwhelm the girl. Real panics while Miam explains the alarm cannot be disabled.
Real is annoyed by the persistent system windows blocking her view.
A tap sounds as Real gives in to check the quest.
The quest reward lists experience points and 100 rubies.
Real's finger pauses on the screen, shocked by the ruby reward. Real calculates the massive money value and screams in shock.
Real looks skeptical, realizing the system is manipulating her with greed.
Real decides 10,000,000 won is worth planting a simple twig.
Real cautiously enters the glowing blue door with her gardening bag.
Her boots step onto the lush green grass of the meadow. Real notes that the portal world looks exactly as it did. Real laughs with excitement while asking the cat about the soil. She motivates herself to finish the task and get the money.
A splash sounds as water pours onto the dry, planted branch.
Real smiles with satisfaction as she finishes her gardening task. Chibi Real rejoices over the life returning to the small plant. She excitedly imagines the fortune she will gain from the rubies. Real decides the system is actually great after all. Sunlight shines over the abyss as Real feels completely refreshed. Sitting on her bed in pajamas with a remote, Real asks if she should watch TV before sleeping while her cat, Miam, continues eating. A news reporter named Sarah introduces the Hunter TV live broadcast, promising the fastest updates on the latest Hunter news.
On the screen, a man explains that events were delayed for a week due to a monster attack, though expectations remain high for rookie hunters.
Real points at the television in shock, realizing that the events mentioned are happening right in front of her own shop. Sarah winks at the camera while announcing that additional participants are still being accepted for anyone who awakened as a hunter this year. Letting out a sigh, Real flops onto her bed and claims she has no reason to enter a tutorial dungeon, while Mium asks if she is disappointed. Real laughs off the suggestion, reminding the calico cat that she isn't even a combat hunter and has no business being there. A view of the window reflects her insistence that she isn't disappointed in the slightest by the news. Lying back with a wide smile, the brown-haired woman thinks about how planting a twig to earn 10,000,000 won is her absolute dream life. The scene shifts to the night sky as she expresses her excitement for the arrival of tomorrow. In the morning, the planted twig looks ghostly and withered as the ground trembles with a rhythmic thudding sound. Real is horrified to see the plant in even worse shape than before, crying out in alarm as its few leaves begin falling. Miam observes the dying branch, explaining that being left outside drained its energy, and regular water simply won't be enough to save it. Chibi Real wonders if she should try pouring premium bottled water on it, but the cat quickly snaps that it isn't the kind of water it needs. The cat explains that only ether-infused water from a dungeon will have a high enough concentration to successfully revive the branch. Looking directly at the woman, Miam pointedly asks if the tutorial dungeon isn't opening up very soon. A mystical landscape of glowing mushrooms is shown as the cat clarifies that the required water can be fetched from the first floor of the abyss. Real stares in wide-eyed terror as a dark, shivering aura surrounds her head following the cat's suggestion. Shaking the cat frantically, the woman screams about who would ever suggest going into a dangerous dungeon just for a twig. Real tries to shove a blue system window away with a quick whoosh, shouting that she won't fall for another trick or quest. With a suspicious glare, she accuses Miam of working with the system to lure her into a trap using false rewards. A bright, star-like object glows intensely as the woman pauses to consider the perfection of the offer. The scene shifts to an RPG-like fantasy world where a protagonist sets out on a simple errand to a nearby village. The fantasy hero ends up battling a massive demon king, while Ryul imagines herself as the simple innkeeper who just waves the hero goodbye. Back in reality, the brown-haired woman yells that she doesn't do annoying quests while a system alert chimes loudly. A side quest window appears detailing a mission to revive the sapling using ether water in exchange for 3 golden raffle tickets. Real's expression shifts to one of shock as she reads the specific reward listed at the bottom of the screen. The blue screen highlights the reward of 3 golden raffle tickets, catching the woman's complete attention. She imagines a gacha machine surrounded by coins, thinking that while tickets are the worst invention of civilization, she cannot ignore them. Grabbing her own arm as it shakes, Real desperately tells herself to calm down and not fall for the system's manipulation. An overhead view of a busy city street is shown as a rhythmic thudding sound echoes from the pavement below. Walking along the sidewalk, Ryul sighs that her soft heart will eventually be the death of her as she heads toward her destination.
A floating thought bubble notes that she simply cannot bring herself to turn a blind eye to a withering plant.
Ryul arrives at a grand reception desk where a purple-haired woman in a suit welcomes her with a pleasant greeting.
The receptionist identifies the location as the Hunter Market and asks how she can assist the new visitor.
Blushing while standing before the desk, Real tells herself she is only here to save a life and not because of the tickets.
The brown-haired woman looks determined and bright-eyed as she prepares to conduct her business at the market.
A stark warning screen appears on a black background, advising the audience to support the creators on their official platform.
A beautiful illustration of a woman surrounded by butterflies marks a peaceful transition between chapters.
A faint interior view of a high-class building is shown as Real questions if this is truly the Hunter Market. Looking at an ornate door labeled for staff, the woman thinks that the entire atmosphere feels incredibly upscale. The receptionist asks if this is her first visit, prompting Real to nervously confirm that it is.
The purple-haired woman offers a bright, flowery smile as she prepares to process the visitor's registration.
The receptionist offers a pen while Real finishes her paperwork, leading to a polite exchange of thanks as the form is completed. Feeling relieved, Real notes the welcoming vibe and friendly staff, which helps ease the anxiety she felt from coming alone.
Real asks if something is wrong when she sees the registration form listing her rank as a lowly F.
The receptionist's demeanor suddenly turns cold as she crosses her arms and mentions that the staff is preoccupied with a VVIP. She points toward a dark doorway at the end of the hallway, claiming that is the only room suitable for her rank. The woman is shocked as the receptionist abruptly turns her back and walks away, ending their interaction. Staring at the closed staff door after a loud thud, Real realizes that the woman's entire attitude shifted upon seeing her rank.
Walking through the market, Real notes that rank determines everything, and F ranks are mistreated. The brown-haired woman remains focused on her priority of finding a specific item.
She scans the shop displays for something that allows an F-rank safe dungeon entry.
Real considers finding an item like an invisibility cloak with stealth effects.
The woman imagines reselling the gear for a profit after completing her quest.
Real leans in with interest to see what items are kept in the case.
She is shocked to see a D-rank defense item priced at 100 rubies. A low boom sounds as Chibi Real decries the store's daylight robbery. A sharp, loud voice from off-screen commands someone to clear out immediately. A blonde man in a white suit berates an elderly woman in a floral shirt. The gray-haired woman pleads that she has official permission to be in the shop. The man dismisses her permit and offers a refund while snatching the document.
He mocks her beginner items as worthless junk that shouldn't be seen by VVIPs. Real's eye widens in horror as the man calls for security to intervene.
Guards arrive as the elderly woman cries out in deep distress. Dark lines fill the background as the tension in the room peaks. The blonde man turns around as someone tells him to wait a second.
A loud declaration rings out, claiming the items were already being purchased.
Real steps forward with a determined expression to confront the situation. A clink sounds as Real hands over 50 rubies to complete the sale. She takes the bag and tells the older woman to follow her. Real declares there is no reason to stay in a place that mistreats people.
The man and guards stand aside silently as the two women walk past.
A soft touch accompanies Real as she leads the woman toward the exit.
Outside, the elderly woman expresses her gratitude for being saved from the guards. Real smiles while claiming the beginner items were exactly what she needed anyway.
The woman watches as Real offers a warm parting wish for her health.
Real walks away with a smile that quickly begins to falter.
A heavy boom sounds as the woman cries about how she messed up her plan. Standing alone at sunset, she wonders what her next move should be.
Sitting on a bench, Real laments buying a beginner set she didn't intend to get.
The bag contains a low-grade windbreaker, a trowel, and a set of bandages. Real tells Quan Li to stop second-guessing her choice to help. She laments being back at square one after spending all 50 rubies. A chibi version cheers as Real justifies her actions with her personal morals.
She looks down thoughtfully, her mind lingering on the encounter.
The elderly woman reminded her of her late grandmother, making the choice easier. Real decides she made the right call and can earn money later.
She stands up to head home and figure out a new plan.
Real stops and looks back as someone calls out for her to mate. The gray-haired woman approaches, asking Real to take one more thing. She presents a golden ring with a red gem, claiming she forgot to include it.
Real's eye widens as she notices a strange aura coming from the jewelry.
A system bubble notes that the ring's aura feels different and mysterious. The woman claims the ring belongs to someone suited for it, and that is Real.
A soft slide sounds as the golden ring is placed on her finger.
The elderly woman smiles warmly, noting how well the jewelry suits her. Chibi Real thanks the woman as the sun sets in the background. The mysterious woman walks away, leaving Real alone on the sidewalk. Real looks at the ring with a skeptical expression, wondering about its true nature. A blue system window describes the Ring of Tuva as unusable. Leal's hand is shown wearing the red-gemmed golden ring.
Walking away, the brown-haired woman wonders if she was scammed by the pretty ring, noting its lack of stats as a dark-haired man passes.
A sudden bump sounds as she walks into the man, immediately apologizing for her lack of attention.
Her eyes widen in shock upon recognizing the person before her. The black-haired man looks down at her through his glasses.
Standing close, the man expresses his surprise at seeing Li Yule at this location. A message encourages readers to support the creators on their official platform. The man greets her warmly while Leal internally panics about how he knows her name.
Yu-yin points out that Leal has acquired an impressive item while a glint shines from the gold ring on her finger.
The woman skeptically wonders if he is referring to her bag of cheap gear.
Yu-hyun explains he was also headed to the market, much to Leal's surprise.
Leal warns him to steer clear because the staff is busy ignoring everyone for a VVIP.
Yu-hyun offers to share some valuable information as a token of his appreciation.
He explains that an A-rank artisan named Kim Duck has emerged from seclusion to sell his legendary creations. Guilds are currently locked in a fierce competition to purchase a rumored one-of-a-kind unique item. Yu-hyun asks if she found the information helpful, but Leal silently disagrees while sweating nervously. Leal thinks she has no reason to go and is likely too late.
The woman is stunned when Yu-hyun casually mentions knowing that she is an awakened hunter. Panicking, Chibi Leal makes a break for it with a quick whoosh while shouting that she is suddenly very busy. Stopping her in her tracks, Yu-hyun asks if she plans to enter the upcoming tutorial dungeon. Leal looks back with suspicion, asking why he would want to know that.
Surrounded by a floral aura, Yu-hyun asks if she would like to form a team with him.
Stunned silence follows as the woman stares blankly at his unexpected offer.
Leal questions why a high-ranking guild member needs her when his own partner bailed on him.
Looking like a sad puppy, Yu-hyun explains that the cancellation fee is too high, leading Leal to wonder if he is actually broke. The woman points out that her non-combat status makes her useless for help.
Despite her suspicions, she considers that teaming up is her only option without a stealth cloak. Leal agrees to the partnership, making Yu-hyun brighten up instantly with gratitude.
Yu-hyun mentions that he would love to have another cup of her delicious coffee.
A loud boom sounds as Yu-hyun reels from the news that she is out of instant coffee.
Seeing him depressed, Chibi Leal promises to make him a new type of coffee very soon.
The brown-haired woman excitedly decides it is finally time to brew a fresh Americano. A bright morning dawns as Leal asks if Mium is awake. Mium notices a strange smell in the kitchen, which Leal clarifies is actually the scent of sesame oil. Leal presents a tray of fresh kimbap, asking the cat if he finds the nutty aroma unappealing. She explains that she is packing a lunch since the tutorial dungeon takes half a day to complete. The woman carefully slides the container of food into her yellow backpack. Leal instructs Mium to watch over the house while the cat wishes her a safe return. Leal wonders why the lunch makes her feel like she's going on a picnic. Arriving at the site, she delivers a sharp slap to her cheeks to stay focused on the serious task. The brown-haired woman looks ahead with a determined and focused expression. Staring at the massive, spiked abyss structure, Leal notes its mysterious nature as she prepares to enter. She is overwhelmed by the massive crowd while a man with a megaphone calls for attention. The man loudly guarantees a successful dungeon run for any F-rank non-combat hunters. He urges people to choose a skilled hunter like himself, showcasing a sign with tiered ruby prices for a clear.
Leal is horrified to see that F-rank hunters are expected to pay a staggering 100 rubies. The woman decries the scammers for charging 10 million won, calling their exploitative behavior and nickname awful. A gentle tap on her shoulder precedes Yu-hyun announcing his arrival amidst a floral background.
Leal's face lights up as she greets Yu-hyun, who asks if he kept her rating. Yu-hyun asks about Leal's weapon, which she claims is currently broken. Leal tries to reassure herself despite feeling a deep sense of unease.
Yu-hyun initiates a party invite, and Leal accepts the digital request.
A blue interface confirms the party registration and equal experience share. The guide fastens tutorial bracelets to their wrists to ensure their safety. She explains the bracelets provide assistance if torn during a dangerous situation. Leal acknowledges the instructions while examining the blue band on her wrist. The guide explains that the tutorial difficulty adjusts to the hunter's ranks. Leal confirms that her low rank will make the dungeon path easier. The guide announces the start of the gate transfer to the abyss. Yu-hyun and Leal are engulfed in light as the teleportation sequence begins.
Leal shields her eyes from the blinding radiance of the gate transfer. They arrive in a lush ruin, a dimension where multiple spaces overlap.
Yu-hyun admits he learned about this place from an experienced acquaintance. The ruins appear vast, and the pair notes their isolation from others. Yu-hyun suggests they begin moving, and Leal follows him into the field.
The sound of footsteps echoes as they trek through the tall grass.
A system window welcomes the beginners to the great dungeon, the abyss.
Yu-hyun checks if Leal is keeping up as they navigate the field.
A mysterious message notes that a presence named Cthulhu rejoices at her arrival. Leal marvels at the surreal beauty of the environment inside the dungeon. She brushes her hand against the grass, noting how incredibly realistic everything feels. Yu-hyun admits he is simply following his instincts to find the way. Leal realizes they must forge ahead despite lacking a map or directions.
A round, green F-rank slime appears before them in the grassy field.
Leal finds the monster surprisingly cute compared to her previous terrifying encounters. The slime suddenly distorts into a giant menacing form with glowing eyes. Panicking, Leal covers her face and cries out for help as light flashes. Yu-hyun stands calmly over her, having frozen the monster into falling shards. Leal gazes at the remains, wondering if Yu-hyun defeated the monster alone.
Yu-hyun warns her about the slime's effects while Leal panics over the goo.
She notes that Yuhyun didn't use any chance or visible hand movements.
Leela is impressed by how calmly and efficiently he dispatched the slimes.
She stares at Yuhyun, beginning to suspect he is actually incredibly powerful.
Leela wonders if he is one of the legendary overpowered types she's heard of.
A system window confirms that Yuhyun successfully defeated the beginner green slime. Experience points flood in as Leela continues to ponder her partner's true strength.
Leela shouts in alarm as more slimes begin jumping toward their position. A boisterous shout about supreme swordsmanship rings out near a startled slime.
The gray-haired man slashes a slime with a flaming, dramatic sword strike. Leela recognizes the man as the arrogant hunter and mocks his ridiculous skill.
She laments her terrible luck in running into this specific hunter again.
Yuhyun apologizes for the bad luck as the boisterous man shouts nearby.
The arrogant man tells the weaklings to scram from his hunting ground immediately.
Desperate to avoid the confrontation, Leela and Yuhyun decide to head elsewhere.
Yuhyun's expression suddenly shifts as he senses something strange in the air.
Yuhyun urgently warns Leela to watch her step as the ground tremors.
A sudden boom sounds as Leela stumbles while the earth begins to shake.
Leela panics as the sky darkens and the environment feels like an earthquake.
A red warning window announces that a special hard mode has been triggered.
A heavy thud sounds as Reel reacts to a sudden presence in the wilderness.
A sharp gasp sounds as Ryul spots a massive iridescent slime while a system window announces that the dungeon difficulty has spiked with the appearance of a high-level monster.
A soft chime sounds as a glowing, gem-encrusted sword is drawn, and a man confidently declares that his own strength caused the dungeon's difficulty to increase. The gray-haired man laughs off the danger while Ryul and the other hunters watch the towering slime loom over them.
A low sizzle sounding as the gray-haired man conjures a fireball, assuring everyone that even a giant slime is no match for him.
A sharp whistle sounds as the gray-haired hunter leaps high into the air, preparing to unleash his ultimate skill.
A loud shout sounds as the man activates his powerful Supreme Iron Fang ability.
A frantic dash sounds as the gray-haired hunter dives toward the monster with his fist ablaze. Reel watches in complete awe, marveling at the sheer destructive power of a professional C-rank hunter.
A heavy thud sounds as the fiery punch connects with the surface of the giant slime.
A pained sounds as the hunter is sent flying backward in total defeat, leaving a confused Reel to wonder what went wrong. A soft strain sounds as the red-haired woman checks on the wounded hunter, who insists he is still fine despite the heavy blow. A frantic dash sounds as the humiliated hunter flees the scene, leaving Reel stunned by his cowardice.
A dark rumble sounding as an eerie, low growl emanates from the shadows nearby.
A soft gasp sounds as Reel's face pales in response to the growing threat before her.
A heavy thud sounds as the giant slime roars, causing the ground to shake beneath Ryul.
A low growl sounding as the massive slime reveals a row of jagged teeth and glowing red eyes.
Narration details Ryul's realization that the creature is now genuinely enraged.
A soft voice speaks as Yuyen appears behind Reel, advising her to find a safe place while he handles the situation.
Reel questions Yuhin's safety as she retreats behind a tree while he stands his ground against the roaring monster.
A dark rumble sounding as the giant slime towers over the calm and focused Yuhyun.
A soft hum sounds as Yuyen raises a glowing hand, ready to cast a spell.
A sharp crack sounds as a web of golden energy expands rapidly through Year.
A pained groan sounding as the giant monster reacts with confusion to being suddenly trapped. A soft shimmer sounding as Reel watches Yuyen completely immobilize the massive beast with a single golden net.
Yuyen looks completely composed and effortless as he finishes casting the high-level binding spell.
Reel stares in total silence, shocked by the overwhelming power Yuyen just displayed.
A sharp crack sounds as the ground beneath Ryul begins to crumble and give way.
A loud scream sounds as Reel falls backward into a deep, crumbling ravine. A frantic shout sounds as Yuhyun calls out Reel's name, reaching toward the edge of the chasm. A pained groan sounding as Reel wakes up in an unfamiliar forest, confused about her location. A soft rustle sounds as Reel looks around and calls out for Yuyen in the dark. A soft bounce sounding as a small red slime approaches the lonely and worried Reel. A sharp gasp sounds as Reel hears a noise and turns around in a panic. A soft hop sounding as Reel spots a tiny, adorable red slime watching her from the grass. Chibi Reel reacts with shock as the small creature chirps at her.
A recruitment notice for various translation and editing positions appears above a chapter release announcement. A blue system window identifies Reel's low-grade trowel as she frantically tells the creature to stay back.
Reel threatens the slime with her weak tool, lamenting her bad luck at being confronted while alone.
The little red slime tilts its head in confusion as Ryul looks on with bewilderment.
Reel wonders why the slime isn't attacking and seems to be leading her somewhere. Narration details Reel's internal debate about whether it is truly safe to follow the friendly monster. A soft crunch sounds as Reel decides to follow the creature, trusting her emergency bracelet if things go wrong. A soft gasp sounds as Reel discovers a hidden location at the end of the trail. A soft rush sounding as Reel finds a glowing river flowing under a blood-red moon. Reel thanks the little slime, amazed that it managed to find the water she was desperately seeking.
A blue system window identifies the collected ether water while Ryul feels relieved that her quest is back on track. Ryul prepares to signal for rescue when the little red slime chirps to get her attention again. Ryul turns to find the slime hopping toward a strange plant, asking if it has something else to show her. Ryul notes the odd shape of the glowing pink flowers as the slime chirps happily beside them.
Leal acquires the barista's eye skill while investigating the prat.
The woman celebrates her good luck as the slime squeaks out a cueing sound. Her eyes glow with light as her new barista's eye skill activates.
A system window identifies the plant as dungeon sugarcane used for ingredients.
She decides to harvest some of the plant just in case.
The woman prepares to store the harvested plant into her digital inventory.
Yoo-hyun calls out to her, causing the woman to jump in surprise. He asks if she's all right after missing her at the drop rite.
She claims to be fine while feeling flustered by his handsome face. Yoo-hyun suggests they leave before night falls under the red man.
Leal pauses, suddenly wondering where the helpful red slime disappeared to.
She worries it fled from Yoo-hyun and regrets not offering thanks.
A blinding light teleports them out as Leul reaches level fast.
Yoo-hyun expresses his gratitude while the woman thanks him for help.
She invites him to her cafe for coffee while dreaming of profit.
Leal quickly corrects her slip of the tongue while he laughs.
Surrounded by flowers, Yoo-hyun smiles warmly at his partner's offer. The woman is stunned and speechless by the man's radiant appearance.
She wonders why his charm is so effective as they leave the ruins.
A quick sound of footsteps echoes as someone walks through an office.
Honey-sung bursts in and asks if the guildmaster enjoyed his earning.
Yoo-hyun reads as Aisong tells him to brush a leaf off his shoulder.
Yoo-hyun is shocked as his assistant calls him out for being a liar.
Aisong explains he saw the guildmaster leaving through the office window. The assistant complains about his hard work managing the abyss.
He asks why the guildmaster entered a tutorial dungeon without a conscience.
Aisong mentions the twins told him Yoo-hyun went to that café again. Yoo-hyun recalls going to warn the artisan about people after the ring.
He refuses Iseong's suggestion to assign a watcher for the calf. Yoo-hyun remains silent while sitting in his office chair.
The guildmaster simply states his understanding of the assistant's point.
Yoo-hyun focuses on the legendary artifact known as the Ring of Cthulhu.
The artifact is capable of summoning the dangerous outer god Cthulhu. Master artisan Kim Deogi crafted the unique masterpiece in his private forge. Before his regression, the artisan was deceived into handing over the ring. Yoo-hyun notes the ring was already in Leal's possession at the market.
He wonders why the artisan gave it to an oblivious person.
He decided he needed to learn more about the ring's new honor.
Leal is stunned by the beautiful landscape found within the abyss.
Yoo-hyun activates a powerful skill to analyze his partner's true nature. He sees her status window, but the bottom text is garbled.
He notes that a garbled system window has never happened before.
Yoo-hyun questions if the ring and skill errors are all coincidences. He concludes the woman is hiding something from him. A sound of walking follows as he decides he must continue watching her. A sharp creak sounds as the guildmaster moves in his office chair. Yoo-hyun thinks their upcoming meeting is something to look forward to. Chibi Leal panics about forgetting her kimbap as the cat walks us.
Isong is baffled by Yoo-hyun's sudden lack of wariness toward the calf.
He questions why Yoo-hyun won't let anyone near the building.
Iseong reflects on his belief that the guildmaster never acts without a logical reason.
The black-haired man recalls having the same impression since they first met. A flashback shows a young Yoo-hyun appearing deeply isolated and lonely within a dark expanse.
Isong remembers encountering the young S-rank hunter who seemed dangerously close to death.
He explains that the guild was founded because the boy needed a place of trust.
Over time, the young man slowly regained his ability to smile around other people.
The vice guildmaster arrives at a modern building as people note his presence.
Isong realizes that Yoo-hyun's lonely eyes haven't changed at all since their first meeting. They stand together observing a small cafe run by the relative of another hunter.
Isong is surprised to see Yoo-hyun's eyes sparkle with genuine interest for the first time.
Chibi versions show Yoo-hyun's sudden disappearances starting to baffle and concern the guild staff.
Isong watches the brown-haired woman sweeping outside her calf from a distance.
The man notes that the cafe owner appears to be in her 20s too.
Isong envisions a romantic pairing between Yoo-hyun and the woman amidst a floral background. He reacts with visible shock as his romantic instincts lead to a sudden realization.
Isong concludes that the guildmaster's interest in the woman is a definite sign of love.
Back in the office, Isong asks if Yoo-hyun plans to reveal his true identity.
Yoo-hyun decides to wait, worried that his status might be too overwhelming for her. Iseong promises not to interfere and wishes the guildmaster good luck with his romance.
Leol calls out to her cat while moving to check on a tree branch.
She tells Miam that the golden lottery tickets were her primary goal in the dungeon. Leol nervously admits that the tickets weren't the only reason for her risky journey. A sudden thud sounds as a branch falls from the tree and hits her. Leol is shocked by how quickly the mysterious tree has grown following its revival.
A system window confirms Yggdrasil's revival and grants 3 golden lottery tickets in strength.
Miam excitedly urges Leol to use a ticket, but the woman firmly refuses. The cat is baffled by the woman's decision to delay using the precious items.
Leol reflects on the proper mindset required for handling such sacred and rare rewards.
She explains that using the tickets requires a heart free of greed and reverence. A green magical book featuring a golden star design floats gently in the air.
Leol consults the floating book to learn the proper way to make coffee beans.
A digital display provides specific steps for processing the fresh fruit of the Yggdrasil tree.
Liul decides to begin the process, much to the surprise of her feline companion.
A gloved hand carefully harvests one of the large brown fruits from the branch.
Chibi Liul struggles while carrying a massive bag filled with her heavy fruit harvest.
Rushing water sounds as Liul begins diligently washing the collected fruits in her sink.
The woman carries heavy buckets of fruit while Miam watches her hard work.
Liul sits beneath the massive tree to begin the manual task of removing pulp.
She complains that even peeling the fruit is proving to be far too difficult.
Liul realizes the strength bonus from the system was necessary for this intense manual labor.
A quick sound of movement as the cat observes the struggling, exhausted woman.
Liul laments that her dream of a simple life with minimal work is vanishing.
Frustrated, she throws her gloves down and rejects the idea of running a farm.
Liul angrily demands that the system provide a machine to handle the manual labor.
A soft rustling sound follows as the woman sighs and accepts her current situation.
She decides to retrieve some water from her digital inventory to take a break.
Liul is surprised to notice a mysterious red orb sitting among her stored items.
She wonders when the strange red object was added to her digital inventory storage. Miam looks on with surprise as the red object rolls out onto the grass.
A squishing sound rings out as the red slime monster suddenly reappears before them.
Liul and her cat are shocked as the red slime wobbles.
The woman looks confused while holding her wide-eyed calico cat close.
The red slime bounces happily as Liul recognizes it from the dungeon.
Liul wonders if it was accidentally harvested, while Miam identifies the rare creature.
The brown-haired woman asks if the slime is considered rare.
A system window explains that harmless red slimes are non-toxic and often targeted.
Liul feels guilty about abandoning it while the cat watches her curiously.
A system window asks to appoint the slime as an agent, intriguing Liul.
Liul asks the slime if it wants to stay, receiving a happy squeak.
She agrees to raise it alongside Miam and confirms the system prompt.
A blue notification asks the woman to provide a name for her pet.
The calico cat and red slime wait expectantly for their owner's choice.
Liul suggests the name Bia, but the slime appears distinctly unimpressed.
The creature protests loudly before Liul suggests the name Bouncy instead. The slime rejects several more names, much to the woman's frustration.
Miam suggests the name Lime, which makes the red slime bounce with joy. Standing by her harvest, Liul officially names the happy slime Line. The woman suddenly wonders what a slime actually eats for sustenance.
Her gaze shifts toward the pile of harvested Yggdrasil fruit nearby.
Lime eats a fruit and spits out a clean brown bean.
A system window identifies the 5-star green coffee bean removed from the pulp. A look of pure shock as they realize the skin was peeled.
Recalling her earlier complaints, Liul wonders if the system provided a solution.
Liul points at the harvest and asks if Lime can eat the rest.
The cat is stunned as a quick stretching sound signals Lime's transformation.
A heavy chomp sounds as the slime begins devouring the fruit pile.
Liul is amazed by how quickly the tiny slime consumes everything. The woman and her cat watch as beans rain down around them.
Dozens of perfectly peeled beans fall from the sky like magical rain.
Liul celebrates being saved from manual labor while Lime squeaks happily.
Time passes as the beans dry over the next 3 days.
Looking at her desk, Liul wonders how to spend her free time. The woman decides to reject productivity and lays around in bed instead.
Feeling bored, she picks up her phone to browse a hunter community. A digital screen displays various posts on a popular hunter news seg.
Liul finds interesting topics about missing hunters in a special hard mode dungeon.
A system alert informs Liul that the bean drying process is finished.
Seeing the bucket of beans, she notes the difficulty of making coffee.
At the caf, Miam tells Lime to nag the human for fit.
Liul prepares to roast the green beans in a large frying pan.
Her eyes sparkle with anticipation as she wonders how the brew will taste.
The woman turns on the stove to begin the roasting process.
A moment of quiet waiting follows as the heat begins to rise.
The green beans sit in the pan ready for the next step.
Miam explains that Lime says ether-fired flames are required for these specific fruits.
Liul panics, wondering where she could possibly find such a specialized fire.
Miam tells the woman she already possesses the solution in her own hands.
A soft glow emanates as the ring of Cthulhu begins to shine brightly.
A massive roar of flames erupts from the ring and into the pan.
Liul realizes her ring's true power as the coffee beans begin roasting.
Riel praises Lime's intuition while Wyong stares in utter shock.
A joyful hug leaves Wyong questioning Ryul's sudden life advice.
A mountain of perfectly roasted coffee beans sits ready for brewing.
Dressed as a farmer, Ryul sheds happy tears over her harvest.
The pets dance excitedly as Ryul agrees to brew the coffee. A system window introduces Ryul's new Barista's Extraction Level 1 skill.
A soft hum sounds as Riel skillfully extracts fresh espresso.
Ryul is enchanted by the rich aroma of her handcrafted coffee.
A sudden realization causes Ryul's expression to shift in surprise.
A system notification reveals her Americano can nullify all negative debuffs.
A soft splash sounds as her iced coffee grants infinite stamina.
Ryul's eyes widen as she realizes how overpowered her brews are.
Wyong and Lime eagerly chirp and hop, urging her to drink. A soft strain sounds as Ryul prepares to taste her creation.
A steady heartbeat sounds as Ryul recalls her long journey here.
A soft gulp sounds as she enjoys the crisp, refreshing finish.
Chibi Ryul hugs her pets, overcome with pride in her skills.
A soft thud sounds as she experiences a state of clarity.
Wyong and Lime watch their master's intense focus with total confusion.
Achieving mental clarity rewards Ryul with 3 golden gacha tickets.
A sharp click sounds as Ryul turns the gacha machine's knob.
Ryul confidently prepares to roll for new items with her pets.
A soft rattle sounds as 3 prize capsules tumble out.
System windows reveal her rewards, a single ruby and a thermos. Ryul feels underwhelmed despite the thermos's long-term temperature maintenance. A soft pat sounds as Wyong comforts the disappointed Ryul. A soft chime sounds as Ryul's pets wonder what she's noticed. A soft rush sounding as Ryul tests the new thermos's capabilities.
A soft chime sounds as the system shows a frozen timer. Ryul gasps, realizing the thermos halts the decay of item effects.
Ryul celebrates her massive gacha success with her cheering pets nearby.
A low vibration sounds as a phone buzzes with a message.
Ryul stops her celebration to check the buzzing device on the counter.
A message from Kwon Ji-eun invites her to visit Pagelt.
A soft gasp sounds as Ryul stares at the screen, stunned. Crows fly through the orange sunset as the atmosphere grows tense.
A soft swish sounds as Ryul cleans, feeling a heavy burden.
A heavy thud sounds as Ryul's anxiety mounts while she works. A vision of the smug, silver-haired guildmaster fills Ryul's mind. A dark rumble sounding as Ryul's frustration boils over while cleaning. Ryul questions why the guildmaster is suddenly showing interest now.
A soft swallow sounds as she fears her awakening was discovered.
Ryul panics, realizing her hunter registration could have been tracked easily.
A sharp creak sounds as someone begins to enter the Café.
The dark-haired man with glasses calls out to a surprised Ryul. Ryul fumbles with her hair as the man asks her status.
The messenger explains he was sent by the vice guildmaster immediately.
The man reflects on the guildmaster's uncharacteristically enthusiastic behavior lately.
A soft drag sounding as the visitor moves closer to the counter. The dark-haired man admits he hurried over to try the menu. Ryul laughs nervously while feeling Yoo-hyun's expectant and admiring gaze. She promises to prepare the coffee for him right away.
Yoo-hyun watches Ryul intently from across the counter as she works.
Ryul looks up with a start, caught off guard by Han.
Yoo-hyun asks why she sighed and wonders what happened in the caf.
A hand twists the lid of a manual coffee bean grinder.
Yoo-hyun questions if her sudden behavioral change indicates something deeper.
Yoo-hyun begins to explain his general theory about such strange behavior.
Ryul is startled as a branch suddenly grows and leaves fall.
Yoo-hyun suggests she might have experienced a life-changing event recently. Ryul repeats his words, stunned by the sudden and personal question. Yoo-hyun asks if she has regressed, leaving Ryul completely confused.
Ryul laughs off the idea while judging Yoo-hyun's overly active imagination. Grinding the beans, she notes the shortage and focuses on brewing.
Ryul tells Yoo-hyun she needs more time to prepare his drink.
Yoo-hyun agrees to wait but remains focused on the woman's actions. Standing up, the black-haired man calls out to Ryul by name.
Yoo-hyun suddenly grabs Ryul's hand and asks what she just did.
The ring of Cthulhu glows as Ryul explains she was roasting leans. Ryul praises the ring for providing a perfect smoky coffee flavor.
Yoo-hyun is bewildered by her casual use of the powerful item.
Yoo-hyun is shocked she's using legendary mana like a common burner. Ryul finishes the Americano and invites Yoo-hyun to taste it. A freshly brewed cup of coffee sits on the cafe counter.
Yoo-hyun accepts the coffee as Ryul hopes he enjoys her work.
A sharp, high-pitched ding rings out, startling the coffee-making woman.
As Yoo-hyun drinks, a golden satisfaction gauge appears and rises. Miam explains that the meter tracks the man's enjoyment of the coffee. The cat hushes Ryul while mentioning future abilities from dungeon leveling. The golden gauge fills higher as Yoo-hyun continues drinking his coffee.
Yoo-hyun expresses genuine delight, noting how delicious the brewers.
He thinks the coffee is unique and makes his body feel lighter. Ryul is relieved that the gauge proves his appreciation is genuine. Putting the cup down, Yoo-hyun asks for the price of the tank. Ryul realizes she hasn't set a price for the new menu. Yoo-hyun gladly accepts Ryul's suggestion of charging 1 ruby per peck. Ryul finds the psychological trick of charging in rubies quite amusing.
A system window announces that Ryul has obtained the first P.
The achievement notification glows brightly, confirming her new status in the system. Ryul is confused by the reward and its mysterious, unknown purpose.
Ryul recalls Gina and James drank her coffee first, questioning the title. Soft purple flowers bloom as the scene transitions to a new discovery.
Ryul questions the actual meaning behind the mysterious first key item.
A system reward announces that a new area has been unlocked.
A bright light emanates from the cafe's staff-only door, surprising Ryul. Shocked, the woman stares at the door's sudden and mysterious transformation. Online post question if any hunter cleared the tutorial boss yet.
Users on the hunter board discuss missing announcements for top performers.
Hunters discuss a giant, invincible slime appearing in a hard mode dungeon. A system message blocks a post for spreading supposedly false information. CL Corporation headquarters stands tall against a bright city skyline.
A quick, steady thud sounds as a man walks through the lobby.
Looking at the entrance, the gray-haired man thinks he never expected to return.
A security guard in sunglasses asks what brings him here, to which the man replies he has an appointment. When asked for his name, the man prepares to answer.
With a confident smirk, the gray-haired man declares himself the supreme being.
The guard reacts with baffled irritation while a small, anxious version of the man squeaks in fear. Nervously bowing, the man reveals his real name is Kim Ji-hoon. The guard verifies his identity and tells him to go inside.
A soft click rings out as Ji-hoon receives his visitor pass, feeling nervous about his return.
A waiter asks a group of hunters about their meal while Ji-hoon observes the top-ranking Choi Cedric passing by.
Ji-hoon notes that famous hunters are already everywhere just past the entrance.
Staring ahead, he wonders if he could have been among the elite if he had performed better.
Recalling his past, Ji-hoon remembers being scouted by CL after his awakening, dreaming of becoming the hunter world's supreme being.
He laments being demoted to a subcontracted guild for the trivial reason of slacking off.
Ji-hoon remembers struggling to make ends meet by running a service for beginners in the tutorial dungeon.
A strange, jagged white landscape rises within the dark depths of the dungeon.
A terrifying, distorted face appears on the mutated dungeon wall, surprising him.
After escaping the mutation, Ji-hoon was kicked out of his guild for tarnishing their honor despite returning his earnings.
A loud buzz sounds as he receives a phone call from the CL Guildmaster.
Waiting in the elevator, Ji-hoon nervously wonders if the guild plans to sue him.
A soft ding rings as the elevator reaches the 50th floor.
A person with long black hair and purple eyes greets Ji-hoon, noting his arrival.
As the guide leads the way, the gray-haired man wonders if his host is a woman or a man while being told they have been expecting him.
A quick light rap sounds as the guide announces they are entering the guildmaster's office.
Ji-hoon enters the office and offers a hesitant greeting to the person waiting for him.
A woman with long dark hair and red eyes welcomes him, identified by the system as CL Guildmaster Lee Se-en.
Ji-hoon frantically asks to be called by his handle, Jajon, while Lee Se-en continues addressing him by his full name.
Reviewing his records, Lee Se-en notes that he is currently unaffiliated and has no income, which Ji-hoon nervously confirms.
A soft rustle sounds as she flips through his personal files, mentioning his mother lives alone and his sibling is a civil servant in a situation that is stable but not wealthy.
Ji-hoon is stunned, wondering how she knows his family's circumstances after so many years of silence, and he asks why he was summoned.
Lee Se-en explains that she wants to discuss the commotion that occurred in the recent tutorial dungeon.
A playful squeak rings out as a chibi researcher wonders when the red slime first appeared.
A system profile describes Lee Se-en as a brilliant strategist who grew CL into a top guild.
Lee Se-en reveals there is an open dealer spot in the second raid team and asks for his thoughts.
She places a formal recruitment contract on the desk, surprising Ji-hoon with a negotiation proposal for someone of his standing.
Ji-hoon is shocked by the offer to rejoin CL, but Lee Se-en clarifies that it depends on his cooperation. She looks at him intently and asks who defeated the tutorial dungeon boss.
Ji-hoon claims he doesn't know who it was, though he admits to having seen them before.
He recalls the image of a man who radiated a chilling, overwhelming power at a glance.
A soft slide sounds as Lee Se-en reaches for a document, intrigued by his answer.
She leans in with a sharp gaze, demanding every single detail of what happened inside the dungeon without leaving anything out.
A bright, sunny sky marks the transition back to Leol's newly unlocked territory.
Leol stands in her garden, noting they can now plant dungeon materials like 5-star sugarcane.
A quick flip of pages sounds as she reads a book that summarizes her next task as manual labor, causing her to reject the idea.
Leol offers a stalk of sugarcane to Lime, but she is surprised when the red slime refuses to eat it.
She wonders what to do with the plant since it can't be processed as easily as the coffee.
A system window announces the activation of the barista's extraction skill to process roasted powder. The system warns that extraction may fail due to low skill level, but Leol notes it is not impossible and decides to proceed. Leol thinks that while it isn't coffee, the sap might still be a useful ingredient. A wet splat sounds as a handful of dark, failed sap appears after the extraction process.
Leo, Miam, and Lime all look utterly defeated by the sudden failure.
Leol realizes her skill level is the problem and asks the cat Miam how to increase it, learning she needs points.
Leol's eyes widen as she recalls seeing something about skill points recently.
A system window describes the ultimate coffee quest, offering 1 skill point as a reward.
Leol is confused by the mysterious requirements for building a bond over the ultimate coffee.
Overwhelmed by the complicated quest details, Leol shouts for simpler words while standing by a large tree.
Narrator text explains that today's encounter will be even more headache-inducing than the difficult quest.
The massive Silver-White Guild headquarters towers over the city as Leol arrives.
Leol identifies herself at the reception desk and is verified for her meeting with the guildmaster.
A quick, steady thud sounds as Leol walks through the building, questioning the reason for her summons.
Leol nervously clutches her bag, imagining a silver-haired man nogging her and planning to give him coffee first.
Leol reflects on another unpleasant reason she avoided this place, besides the man she came to see. A soft chime sounds as the elevator doors open to reveal a woman with long red hair.
Park Hee-young greets Leol with a cold, knowing smirk that Leol had unfortunately expected to see.
A shield icon appears as the narrator identifies Park Hee-young as the protector of Kwon Ji-woon.
The red-haired woman looks down on Leol, calling her a useless relative who shouldn't bother her brother.
A soft rustle sounds as Leol hands over a bag, asking the woman to deliver coffee to her brother.
Narrator text reflects on the history of many unpleasant encounters between the two women.
Leol sighs while Park Hee-young questions her attitude, making Leol regret coming at all.
A soft click sounds as Kwon Ji-woon opens the door, telling Leol to come in fact.
Leol sticks her tongue out at the red-haired woman as she follows the silver-haired man into his office. Entering the room, Leol's focus is immediately captured by a plate of assorted cookies. A heavy, quiet silence fills the office as Leol eats cookies while Ji-woon watches her.
Ji-woon asks if she has been doing well while Leol feels ignored and keeps snacking.
The silver-haired man notes that Leol is 23 now and has lived away for 3 years.
Leol sips her tea and asks him to stop beating around the bush and state his business.
Ji-woon bluntly states his opposition to Leol becoming a hunter, leaving her completely stunned.
Setting her cup down, Leol listens as he warns her to avoid arrogant hunters who are full of themselves.
Ji-woon admits he dislikes hunters and disapproved of her opening a cafe in such a location.
Leol stares at him in shock, struggling to process his sudden and judgmental statements.
From behind, Leol wonders what awakening has to do with the location of her shop.
Leol is hurt, questioning how he can speak about her moving away so easily.
She recalls the hard manual labor and slow preparation she put into her precious calf.
Looking down, Leol admits she secretly hoped for a more family-like check-in after all this time.
A snowy flashback shows a younger Leol and Ji-won walking together as a close family.
A soft sigh escapes Leol as she accepts that a warm family reunion is not likely today.
Rising from her seat, Leol asks if this lecture is the only reason he called her there.
A soft rustle sounds as Ji-woon shifts, asking Leol exactly what story she has heard from others.
A quick, heavy thud sounds as Ji-woon approaches, mentioning a hunter who is always hanging around her. Grabbing Leol's shoulder, the silver-haired man notes that the hunter visits her calf every single day.
Ji-woon looks intense, promising to ensure the man can't approach her if she doesn't like his attention.
Stunned, Leol realizes with a start that her brother is referring to Ki Yu-yeon.
Frantically waving her hands, Leol clarifies that the man isn't actually hitting on her.
Ji-woon has an absurd delusion of Leol and Yu-hyun being close, which she loudly denies.
Leol realizes with a sweat drop that Ji-woon hasn't noticed that she has already awakened.
Ji-woon looks at her skeptically, asking for confirmation that there is nothing between them.
Leol explains that Yuhan has only been visiting the shop more often lately to drink coffee.
Recalling how Yuhyun held her hand, Leol crosses her arms and insists there's nothing romantic happening. Ji-woon notes that a player like Yu-yen doesn't suit her, leaving Leol confused by the term. Leol thinks about how Yu-yen's appearance is objectively and strikingly handsome among the flowers. Pulling a thermos from her bag, Leol tells her brother to stop talking nonsense and try the coffee.
Ji-woon asks what the drink is as Reol pours the coffee.
Reol urges him to drink the coffee within 30 minutes.
Preparing to leave, Reol mentions she has plenty of work.
A heavy, solid thud sounds as the office door shuts. Ji-woon reflects on his relief regarding her lack of relationships. He wonders if his advice to move her shop was harsh. Ji-woon looks away pensively, lost in his own private reflections. Narration describes the constant danger Reol faces as a relative.
Menacing shadows and paparazzi surround Reol in a dark memory. Shards of glass fall as the narration recalls past kidnapping.
Ji-woon thinks about how he kept his distance for safety.
A report on the missing Kwon Sok-min emphasizes dungeon lethality.
Ji-woon laments his father's disappearance while carrying guild responsibilities.
A red system alert announces that his stats are depleted. Ji-woon clutches his forehead, questioning if he overexerted his manner. A sweet, inviting aroma from the coffee cup catches him.
Recalling Reol's instructions, Ji-woon decides to try the coffee. Ji-woon takes a sip, noticing the surprisingly pleasant aroma.
Floral imagery blooms as his stress and anxiety dissolve away. A soft chime sounds as a system window confirms restoration.
Ji-woon is left completely stunned by the sudden status restoration.
Looking at an old photo, he accepts the sudden peace.
Ji-woon attributes his sudden ease to the delicious coffee quality.
He decides to observe the progress of her cafe longer. Outside, Reol feels conflicted about her brother's misunderstanding while walking.
A message from Mira asks if Reol heard about Aichin.
The phone screen identifies Choi E-chan as the newly awakened. Reol stops in surprise as she reads Choi E-chan's Dan. A man nearby gasps for breath, drawing Reol's attention away.
Reol looks up in shock, recognizing the man standing there.
A blonde-haired man smiles warmly, asking if she recognizes him.
Reol's eyes widen in disbelief at the sudden and unexpected reunion.
Choi E-chan playfully confirms his identity to the stunned woman.
I-chan remarks on the perfect timing of their chance meeting.
Sitting on a bench, E-chan describes his long time since enlistment.
Reol listens as E-chan explains his sudden awakening and discharge.
A flowery flashback shows I-chan and Reol during school days. Reol thinks about how much I-chan has grown after awakening.
A heavy clatter sounds as a construction worker trips nearby.
I-chan tells Reol to wait while he leaps to help.
He effortlessly lifts the heavy cement bags for the worker.
Real notes that while he's bigger, his kindness remains unchanged.
Real looks at him with a wistful expression, staying silent.
She is painfully reminded of the reality of her return.
A memorial photo shows Ichan, proving he is alive now.
A chibi graphic humorously illustrates Ji-won's massive misunderstanding of Real. White flowers drift across a dark background as Real reflects. Real checks an official list confirming Ichan is a hunter. Friends congratulate Ichan on his awakening while he stays humble.
Real tells Ichan that being a hunter really suits her. Real struggles with a heavy stock of books as others offer help.
Ichan carries the load and predicts that Real will be a hunter.
The friends laugh while promising to meet again in the future.
Narrator text explains how their playful words eventually became a reality.
A rift suddenly opens near an elementary school in Suwon City. Ichan happens to be nearby and rushes into the dangerous dungeon.
The narrator describes the dungeon's unexpected and deadly transformation into high attribute.
The narrator reveals that this was Ichan's first and final dungeon.
Real reflects on the heavy burden of returning to the past. Rhythmic steps sound as Ichan approaches and asks if Real is sick.
The blonde-haired man stands over Real as she rests on a bench.
Real informs her old friend that she is opening a cafe. Surrounded by flowers, Real invites Ichan to visit her new shop.
A thought bubble expresses Ryul's hope to save a lost life.
A soft thud sounds as a hand holds a tub of ice cream. Miam questions why Real bought ice cream for a menuless friend.
Real looks ahead with a bright and determined smile on her face. A soft click sounds as a wooden door swings open wide.
Real warmly welcomes Ichan as he walks into the new cafe.
Ichan enters and praises the pleasant atmosphere of the small shop. Rhythmic steps sound as Ichan asks if Real is raising a dap. Ichan admits he ran there, while Miam notes his incredible diligence. Real is shocked to learn Ichan ran 32 kilometers to visit.
Real heads to the counter to prepare a refreshing coffee drink.
A thought bubble explains the first step of the extraction skill.
Visual instructions detail the recipe for a sweet vanilla ice cream coffee.
Real serves the drink, worrying about her lack of recipe precision. A quick, soft gulp sounds as Ichan takes his first sip.
A system window announces the subquest is complete with 1 reward. Real is amazed that the simple drink actually finished the quest.
Ichan is completely overwhelmed by the delicious taste of the coffee.
A loud, sharp crack sounds as a glass suddenly shatters completely.
Ichan looks horrified as he stares at the broken glass shards.
A soft, sweeping sound follows as Ichan apologizes for his uncontrolled strength.
Ichan doubts any guild would take him as a lowly E rank.
Ichan expresses a sincere desire to help people with his power.
A soft rustle sounds as Real prepares to share a secret. Real hesitates, unsure if Ichan will believe her incredible story.
Real is horrified as she finds herself unable to speak aloud.
Real struggles to warn Ichan that a dangerous rift is coming.
A red system window flashes an error message right behind Real.
Real and Miam are confused by the strange and sudden interference.
Miam explains that the system prevents future information from being shared.
A heavy heartbeat sounds as Real realizes the system is silencing her.
Ichan checks on Real while she hides her sudden internal panic.
Ichan smiles warmly, saying he is just happy they met again.
A heavy heartbeat sounds as Real vows to stop his fate.
Looking at a memorial photo, Real refuses to let history repeat. Ichan stands amidst a backdrop of beautiful blooming pink roses.
Ichan admits that his excessive physical strength has become a problem.
The brown-haired woman smiles warmly, thinking her friend never changes. The blonde-haired man asks if she will come if he calls later, to which Real offers ice cream as a bribe while telling him to think things through carefully. A sudden, sharp scream echoes from the white building under the night sky.
Miam playfully wrestles with Lime as the cat asks if Real is tracking an awful smell again, though Real notes it is different this time.
A chibi Ichan waves goodbye as Real reflects on how serving him coffee completed a quest.
A blue system window displays Real's upgraded barista's extraction skill after she uses her reward point.
Looking at a notification about her deep coffee bond, Real remains uncertain of its true meaning.
A glowing magical circle appears as the system confirms a successful extraction.
As Real gathers white powder, the cat asks about her plans, and she explains she is making gift cookies.
While Real types on her laptop, Miam curiously asks who the intended recipient of the gift is.
Wearing glasses, Real smiles subtly and replies that the gift is for someone special.
Real arrives at the agency and spots a woman with braided purple hair from behind.
Gina, the purple-haired woman with glasses and an ID badge, greets Real with a cheerful welcome.
A detailed list describes Ichan's intense daily workout routine of squats, planks, and marathons.
Narration explains that Gina was promoted to work under hunter Kang Hyun-woo after her performance during a cave incident.
A text box notes that Gina's new position is widely considered a significant promotion.
The scene shifts to a break room sign as narration mentions the effort of visiting the agency.
Standing in the break room, Gina warmly invites Real to take a seat.
Real expresses concern about bothering Gina during work, but Gina insists it is not a problem.
Looking pensive, Gina admits that she has recently had something heavy on her mind.
Gina reveals that her older brother is a hunter as a bag of bread sits on the table between them.
A note from Gina's brother claims he will return once he is famous, while Gina laments his troublemaking nature.
Gina recalls a phone conversation where her brother bragged about joining a prestigious guild.
As Gina wishes her brother would stop causing trouble, Real realizes their brothers share the same profession.
Gina notices she was spacing out and offers Real a drink from the nearby vending machine.
Surprising Gina, Real pulls out some coffee and snacks from her bag as a return favor.
A system window identifies the coffee and cookies as an afternoon snack combo that reduces stress.
Gina is overcome with joy by the gift, and Real hopes the stress relief effect helps her. Gina takes a bite of the butter cookie with a satisfied expression.
Surrounded by floral energy, Gina remarks that the snack makes her feel significantly lighter.
Real feels relieved before Gina asks what it was that Real specifically wanted to discuss.
Real holds her cup firmly, mentally preparing herself to ask a serious question. Thought bubbles reveal Real's intent to gather information about the dungeon to prevent future danger.
With a determined look, Real asks Gina if she has any knowledge regarding high-tier attribute dungeons. Gina reacts with intense excitement and shock at Real's sudden interest in dangerous dungeons. Using visual aids of fire and ice, Gina explains how specific aether strengths can mutate dungeons into dark attributes.
Gina further explains that these dark dungeons are extremely lethal and inflict direct dark damage on hunters.
A close-up of Real's eyes shows her realization that this matches the dungeon where Ichan met his fate.
Gina looks at Real with sudden suspicion, questioning her specific reason for asking such things.
The purple-haired woman's expression shifts to one of alarm as a realization strikes her.
Gina frantically asks if Real has awakened and warns her against visiting such places, though Real tries to laugh it off.
Gina notes the rarity of dark damage protection items before slamming a large dungeon encyclopedia onto the table.
Eager to help, Gina offers to lend Real the comprehensive book to further her education.
Real gratefully accepts the heavy book, though Gina's sudden intensity leaves her slightly flustered.
Back at home, Miam steps on the sleeping Real's head and demands that she wake up.
Real startles awake while face down on the open encyclopedia with the cat still perched on her back.
Rubbing her eyes, Real wonders when she fell asleep, and Miam explains that Lime has vanished into subspace. Walking through the garden, Real notices something in the grass and wonders about its presence.
Real looks surprised as a soft sound draws her attention to the Briorine.
Real asks Lime what it is doing as the red slime bounces happily through the flowers.
A speech bubble asks if someone wants the oblifert.
Real reaches for the fruit while Lime watches from below. Real slips on a hidden slope while reaching for fruit.
A sharp scream echoes as Real falls down the slope. System notifications announce that a deep coffee bond has activated an emergency connection skill.
Real is shocked as the system identifies Choi E-chan as her target.
A blue notification confirms that a high-tier defensive skill has been activated.
The system announces a massive 5-minute boost to Real's overall defensive capabilities.
A glowing hexagonal shield protects Real as she crashes hard against the earth. Real recovers as Lime cries out in distress and runs toward her.
Real holds the trembling slime, assuring Lime she is not hurt.
A system window explains her broken level ability to copy the skills of anyone who drinks her coffee.
Real realizes that forming a deep bond through coffee allows her to copy powerful skills.
Imagining herself in royal finery, Real wonders about the possibility of copying legendary S-rank abilities.
Real decides to investigate the rest of Ichan's hidden hunter skulls.
Real is stunned to find that Ichan possesses 2 S-rank skills despite his low hunter ranking.
A system window details a skill that nullifies dark attribute damage after possessing a specific item for a day. Real feels suspicious of the system's sudden and helpful information. Real searches for a dark ether item to save Ichan's life. Real considers her options but decides against asking Kwon Ji-woon for any assistance.
Real thinks about Ki Yushan, noting his strength and affiliation with the Chungna Guild. Looking at her phone, Real wonders if she should ask Mr. Yuyun about dark aether items.
The phone rings immediately as Yuhyun returns her text.
Real answers the call nervously as Yuhyun speaks her name from the other fag. Real listens intently, her expression filled with a mix of surprise and worry.
On the other end of the line, Yuhyun questions her interest in dark items.
A brief pause follows as the phone conversation continues.
Yuhyun asks why she is looking for such a specific and dangerous item.
Real hesitates on the phone, unsure of how to explain her true intentions.
Real wonders if Yuhyun's voice has always sounded so deep and commanding. Real tells him she cannot explain in detail and just needs it for something important.
Real checks if Yuhyun is still there, and he replies that he has understood her request for now.
Yuhyun suggests meeting tomorrow at Susong Station to discuss a place he can introduce.
Real reflects on the appointment she just made with her friend. Standing in public, Real feels nervous meeting outside the comfort of her cafe. Real notes how much Yuhyun stands out in the crowded station.
Yuhyun greets Real as they meet up for their scheduled appointment.
Ki Yuhyun asks how her condition is, to which a confused Real can only ask why.
Real admits she was worried because his voice sounded low during their call yesterday.
Yuhyun dismisses her concern while Real remains slightly bewildered by his reaction. Ryul asks how he managed to find the location of such a rare item.
Ryul wonders if the rarity is due to the lack of dark dungeons lately.
Yuhyun explains that certain groups have been interfering with the supply of rare materials. Narration describes the criminal activities of an illegal smuggling group known as Sin Crown.
The text highlights the various vile acts committed by this shadowy criminal organization.
Ryul is horrified to learn how dangerous the situation truly is for everyone involved.
Yuhyun leads her away, promising that their destination for today is relatively safe. Yuhyun reveals they are going to meet a secluded, famous item crafting hunter from a workshop.
Ryul is surprised by the prospect of meeting a master craftsman. Ryul asks if they are meeting someone so notable today, and Yuhyun expresses confidence in the craftsman's knowledge.
Chibi versions of Ryul and Ki Yuhyun talk about their successful meeting.
While traveling by train, Ryul reflects on their smooth progress so far.
Yuhyun suddenly asks Ryul about her class, catching her completely off guard.
Looking calm, Yuhyun admits his curiosity regarding her official hunter classification.
Ryul notes to herself that Yuhyun does not seem like a gossip.
She remembers that he is currently assisting her with a very important task.
Ryul starts to explain that she is actually just a cafe owner. Sitting together, Yuhyun clarifies that he was not asking about her mundane job.
Ryul continues to insist on her title while Yuhyun looks slightly confused. Gripping his sleeve, Ryul prepares to reveal her literal hunter class details.
Ryul whispers that her official system-assigned class is indeed Café or her.
As they ride, Ryul reminds him of the coffee she previously made him. A system window displays Ryul's Café Mocha with massive recovery speed buffs. Yuhyun looks stunned, leaving a concerned Ryul to ask if he is okay.
Shocked, Yuhyun explains that such recovery effects in coffee are unprecedented.
A thought bubble explains the high consumption of items during dungeon rites. A glowing, ornate potion bottle represents the typical items used by hunters.
Shyly scratching her head, Ryul mentions she has no plans to move.
Yuhyun stares at her with a look of pure, bewildered disbelief.
A tiny chibi Yuhyun manages to acknowledge her unexpected explanation.
Leaning in, Yuhyun asks the baffled Ryul how she even awakened.
Ryul recalls a personality quiz where she prioritized rest over money or power.
Ryul explains it just happened, but Yuhyun remains skeptical and surprised. Laughing, Yuhyun listens as Ryul describes her sudden system alert assignment.
Turning the question around, Ryul asks about Yuhyun's class and awakening.
The train announcement notes their upcoming stop at Uljiro 3ga Station. Surrounded by lilies, Yuhyun vaguely says his awakening just happened naturally.
Yuhyun stands up and leads the way as they reach their stop.
They arrive at the entrance of the Changge 3ga crafting on.
Yuhyun jokingly notes the alley lacks the fresh scenery Ryul expected.
A worker rushes past with a box, nearly colliding the Ryul. With a quick, smooth movement, Yuhyun pulls Ryul safely out of the way.
Ryul finds herself tucked against Yuhyun's chest as he protects her.
Flustered by the close contact, Ryul stammers out a quick thank you.
Yuhyun explains the area's decline as crafting hunters move to workshops.
They stop at a secluded workshop belonging to a hunter named Kim Deoki. A soft click sounds as Yuhyun uses magic to unlock the door.
Entering the courtyard, they are questioned by an unseen, authoritative voice.
A silhouetted figure tells them to leave, surprising Ryul with the rejection. An elderly woman with gray hair stares at the intruders with suspicion.
Yuhyun bows politely, greeting the woman after a long time apart.
The woman notes that Yuhyun has brought a familiar guest for him.
Ryul is struck with shock upon recognizing the elderly woman's face.
A thought bubble identifies her as the grandmother from the hunter market. The elderly woman gazes at the visitors with a calm, knowing expression. Surrounded by flowers, the elderly woman maintains her quiet, composed presence.
Ryul excitedly greets the grandmother, who warmly invites them both inside.
Grandma questions why Yuhyun visited despite her previous warnings against it.
Ryul whispers to Yuhyun, asking if this woman is the reclusive master. Ryul is completely blown away by the reveal of the grandmother's identity.
A close-up of Grandma looking thoughtfully at her guests during their conversation.
Yuhyun holds up his hand, asking how the unique ring is working out.
Ryul smiles energetically and admits she has been using the ring a lot.
Text explains the ring produces a flame perfect for roasting coffee beans. Grandma and Yuhyun look at each other with sudden concern and shock. A heavy silence falls as the conversation momentarily comes to a halt.
Yuhyun walks forward, noting it's good as long as it's used properly.
Grandma stands in her courtyard and asks why they have visited today.
Yuhyun stands beside Ryul and begins to explain the reason for coming. Yuhyun states that he is currently looking for a dark ether agon.
Ryul waves her hand frantically, promising she isn't trying to hurt Juan. Yuhyun looks on with a calm expression as he continues the discussion.
Ryul hesitates, wondering if Grandma will even believe her true intentions. A text bubble clarifies that her goal is to save a friend.
A blonde boy eats happily while Ryul notes he really needs it.
Ryul admits she blurted out the request because she couldn't explain everything.
Grandma smiles warmly and says she believes Ryul because of her identity. Grandma searches a drawer and finds a photo of Ryul's late grandmother.
Grandma explains she received help from Hisun Park a long time ago.
Grandma recalls Ryul defending her against the crowd at the hunter market.
Grandma offers to help Ryul by making an accessory from dark ether.
Grandma adds that there is something she wants Ryul to do also. Grandma requests that Ryul find a hand mirror among Hisun's old belongs.
Looking at the old photo, Grandma notes her friend cherished it dearly.
Real realizes the importance of the item and stares with wide eyes.
A narrative bubble declares she definitely wants to find it for her.
Chibi Real shouts that she will search everything while Grandma laughs gratefully.
Grandma identifies a potion that can temporarily erase a person's presence.
Ryul looks around the counter, amazed by the many interesting workshop items.
Yuhyun stands silently in the room, watching Ryul explore her surroundings.
A narrative bubble mentions that one thing has now become clear.
Yuhyun concludes that Ryul is certainly not part of any dangerous cult.
Yuhyun suggests that Grandma relax her shoulders as she seems too tense.
Grandma asks if he simply wanted to know why she gave Ryul the item.
Grandma explains her mission was to pass the ring to its rightful owner.
Grandma confirms her belief that Ryul is the rightful owner of Rim.
Yuhyun looks away thoughtfully, his expression growing serious and distant.
A system notification announces that a demon summoning has been successfully completed. A child stands atop a glowing red magic circle drawn on the floor.
A warning window says a great demon is watching from beyond a gate.
A sinister voice from the abyss claims it has been waiting for him. As a sudden sharp scream echoes, a window says the demon desires a pact. Floating and glowing, notifications announce his S-rank awakening and new divine authority.
An ominous voice from the abyss commands him to come find it. A man in glasses is stunned to witness a rare S-rank awakening.
Cult members cheer, believing their success means the great demon has finally answered them. Young Yuhyun stands amidst the bodies while the cultists praise their long-held prayers.
The boy stares blankly as a voice says their message has finally reached him.
Text explains the cult of the stars forcibly awakened him to resurrect a demon.
Yuhyun resolves to stay on his guard against the cult's future movements.
Yuhyun advises a flustered Ryul to relax to see things differently.
Yuhyun gazes softly at his companion during their quiet conversation.
Ryul excitedly displays a sparkling hair clip Grandma gifted her. Ryul shows off the pretty accessory with a happy smile. Yuhyun keeps the item's rare mental protection properties a secret. A close-up highlights Yuhyun's calm and thoughtful facial expression. Yuhyun steps forward, offering to help Ryul with the hairpiece. Yuhyun clips the accessory on while noting Ryul's ordinary nature.
A tender moment passes as Yuhyun looks down at her, relieved.
Grandma recalls Ryul defending her at the market earlier. Back at the cafe, Ryul searches through crowded storage boxes. Ryul continues her frantic search for the missing hand mirror.
Her calico cat companion assists in finding the blue item.
The cat collapses from exhaustion while Ryul keeps Harkin. The cat asks Ryul where she went the previous day. Ryul screams in embarrassment as she remembers her encounter with Yuhyun.
Ryul hides her face, much to her cat's confusion. Ryul recalls how overwhelming Yuhyun's handsome features were up close.
The cat promises to help her find the elusive mirror. The cat notices the red slime has suddenly disappeared. Lime the slime reappears, surprising the shop owner. The cat asks if Lime has discovered the mirror's location. Sunlight filters through the lush green leaves of a forest. Ryul steps through a mysterious glowing doorway into the woods.
Ryul wonders how the hand mirror ended up out here.
The cat translates Lime's instructions to follow him into the forest. Ryul decides to follow the slime to investigate the lead. The title card shows the group walking through the woods. Ryul notes the existence of a hidden woodland trail nearby. Ryul asks Lime how he even knew about this place. Ryul stops as she spots something unexpected through the trees. A charming, secluded cabin appears nestled among the forest growth. Lime bounces toward the house, inviting the others to enter. The group enters a dusty interior that seems long abandoned. Ryul reflects on who might have used this place before. The items inside the cabin feels strangely familiar to Ryul. Ornate furniture stands untouched in the quiet, sunlit room. Ryul remembers her grandmother's lap and her distinctive personal taste. The cat discovers something important on a nearby wooden table. The cat points out the blue prize they were seeking. Ryul finally holds the ornate, round blue hand mirror. The mystery of the mirror's strange location remains unsolved. Ryul wonders if her grandmother once resided in this cabin. The cat interrupts Ryul's daydreaming to ask for food.
Ryul hugs her companions while the cat demands a meal.
Under a full moon, Ryul arrives back at the alleyway. Ryul stands alone at the entrance of the craft alley.
Grandma looks longingly at an old photograph in her workshop. Ryul hopes to learn more about her grandmother's hidden history.
Flustered, Ryul decides not to send her message to Yuhyun. Ryul walks through the dark alley, noting its gloomy nighttime atmosphere.
Ryul spots the entrance to Prema's workshop. Ryul notices the floor is strangely wet and smells something odd.
A sudden loud bang sounds as a door flies open.
Ryul is nearly knocked over as a man rushes past her. Ryul enters the workshop and calls out for Grandma. A pained groan sounds as Ryul spots someone on the ground.
Ryul screams in horror as she finds Grandma lying in blood.
Ryul rushes to Grandma's side, frantic at the sight of blood. Ryul asks who did this while Grandma weakly tells her Varen. Ryul promises to call an ambulance, but Grandma insists she leave.
A sudden whoosh sounds as something catches fire.
A crackle sounds as flames erupt near Grandma and Ryul.
Ryul realizes the wet floor was gasoline as the fire spreads.
A thumping heart sound accompanies Ryul's resolve to save Grandma.
A sharp flare sounds as the fire intensifies.
A loud crackle sounds as Ryul struggles to find an exit. Ryul wonders if she can make it out through the intense heat. A shimmering golden magical grid suddenly appears in the workshop.
Real stares in shock at the unexpected magic protecting them.
A loud bang sounds as Yoo-hyun's hand kicks open the door.
Yoo-hyun rushes in through his protective magic, asking if she is okay.
Real notes her slime friend is cute while the cat translates.
Yoo-hyun runs towards Real as she calls on Azam.
A splash sound as Real tearfully points to Grandma's condition.
Real explains Grandma was stabbed before the workshop caught fire.
Yoo-hyun places a hand on the wound, telling Real not to worry.
Yoo-hyun tells Real that they must get Grandma to the hospital.
A pained groan sounds as the man in the black cap reflects.
A crackle sounds as the man claims he didn't want this.
Narration mentions a condition for joining CL Corporation a few weeks ago.
A document describes a mission to retrieve a redstone ring.
CEO Lee Se-en allows any illegal means to get the adder.
The man in the black cap initially thought it was easy.
The man's easy job turns complicated upon seeing an old woman.
A pouring sound as Grandma informs the man he is too late.
The man draws a sword, stunned by Grandma's lack of fear. A whoosh sounds as Grandma offers an item to make him leave.
Grandma identifies herself as the Master Kim Duck-e.
The man and Grandma are both surprised by a sudden presence.
The man realizes the workshop items are truly masterpieces.
A sudden splash sounds as the man reconsiders his plan.
Narrative text confirms the man decided to just take an item.
A sharp platter sounds as the man is suddenly startled.
A quick strike sounds as a sword is kicked from his hand.
Narrative text explains a hooded figure appeared and stabbed Grandma.
A loud clang sounds as the bloody sword hits the floor.
A thud sounds as the man rushes to the injured Grandma.
A whoosh sounds as the man chases the hooded attacker.
A loud bang sounds as the man leaps onto the roof.
A piercing, sudden scream echoes through the pitch-black night.
Panting heavily, the blue-haired hunter searches frantically for his target. The hunter swears vengeance as a burning paper flutters nearby.
Shock colors his face as flames suddenly erupt behind him.
Narration explains he chased the culprit before fire unexpectedly broke out.
Panicked, the hunter tries to report the emergency on his phone.
A hooded figure appears, mocking the hunter's inability to handle tasks. Horrified, the blue-haired hunter demands to know the stranger's identity.
The hunter recognizes the hooded man as a former company secretary.
The hooded man admits he stepped in because the hunter failed.
The hunter argues Grandma didn't have the ring or deserve harm.
Coldly, the hooded man declares anyone against their plan is an obstacle.
The hunter repeats the word plan with a look of dread.
He questions the company's violent motives for stealing the mysterious artifact. The hunter suspects the company is following a dangerous faction's methods. A realization dawns on the hunter, leaving him speechless and pale.
He wonders if the corporation is truly allied with such villains.
Dismissive, the hooded man walks away after finishing his cold explanation.
He claims the top hunter, Muon, will eventually betray all humanity.
The hooded man insists the ring is the only way to intervene.
He threatens the hunter's family if the incident is ever reported.
A sharp crunch sounds as the hooded man crushes the hunter's phone.
He returns the scraps, noting the CEO still trusts the hunter.
The night sky remains quiet under the glow of the moon. The scene shifts to the exterior of a quiet medical center.
Machines hum steadily in a room filled with medical equipment.
Grandma rests peacefully thanks to Yoo-hyun's use of a potent cushion.
Holding her hand, Real feels relieved the situation wasn't far worse.
Real's thoughts dwell on the identity of Grandma's mysterious attacker.
Seated at the bedside, Real's face is flushed with complex emotions.
A thud sounds as she recalls the man who fled Grandma's. A sliding sound as a curtain is pulled back, revealing Yoo-hyun.
Yoo-hyun steps into the room, noting that Ryul is still dizzying.
Flustered, Ryul explains her delay and asks about the police report.
Yoo-hyun reports they've found evidence but haven't caught the culprit yet. Yoo-hyun looks closely at Ryul, noticing something about her appearance.
Ryul reacts with surprise as Yoo-hyun suddenly focuses on her.
A promotional graphic features the main duo together in a cafe.
Embarrassed, Ryul blames the hospital's warmth for her very red face.
Ryul remembers Yoo-hyun previously saved her from a cave's black bear.
Ryul recalls his past rescue from a bear, which he acknowledges.
Yoo-hyun offers comforting words, noting the cave rescue was likely traumatic.
Ryul fidgets with her hands, reflecting on the weight of his help.
She expresses deep gratitude for his protection both then and now.
Yoo-hyun remains silent, his expression unreadable behind his clear glasses.
Yoo-hyun calls her name softly, causing her to look up expectantly.
He leans in, making Ryul pull back in a sudden fluster.
Yoo-hyun points out her injured wrist and offers to treat it.
Ryul declines help, but Yoo-hyun insists on using his potion immediately.
Yoo-hyun firmly grasps her hand, refusing to leave her injury untreated.
Yoo-hyun, black hair, glasses, pours a healing potion on Ryul's brown hair wrist. He explains it might feel cold, and a status window confirms she is fully restored.
Ryul brown hair wonders if the potion was too valuable for a simple scratch before thanking him.
Grandma's gray-white hair eye opens as a shimmering magical light begins to fade away.
Yoo-hyun, black hair, glasses, and Ryul, brown hair, react with shock as Grandma suddenly awakens.
Ryul explains she brought Grandma to the hospital after finding her collapsed at the workshop.
Grandma gray-white hair cries out in sudden alarm upon hearing the name of her workshop. A splash of water sounds as Ryul tries to keep Grandma from leaving her bed.
Ryul brown hair begs Grandma not to push herself while she is still recovering.
Yuyan, black hair, glasses, stands silently, clutching a mysterious wrapped scroll in his hand.
The scene shifts to the quiet city buildings under a fading dusk sky.
A steady thud sounds as Grandma walks across the workshop rubble in hospital slippers.
Title card, SSS Grade Café in front of the dungeon, Episode 30.
Grandma Gray-White Hair stands before the wreckage of her workshop in stunned, quiet disbelief.
Yuhyun apologizes for the fire, but Grandma is just relieved that they are both alive.
A heavy thud sounds as Grandma falls to her knees among the charred ruins.
Grandma laments the loss of her compressed ether, worrying about how long replacement will take.
Ryul, brown hair, stares at the devastation with a look of profound, helpless sorrow.
Ryul notes that Grandma is still worrying about her even though her workshop is gone.
Ryul thinks Grandma must be the one most upset by the workshop's total destruction.
A light rustle sounds as Ryul reaches into her pocket and calls out to Grandma.
Ryul, brown hair, tells Grandma she found the mirror Grandma mentioned previously.
A sliding sound as Ryul presents the round silver hand mirror to her granddaughter.
Grandma reflects that the mirror was kept in a quiet, difficult-to-find place.
Grandma Gray-White Hair notes the mirror served its purpose well up until this exact moment.
Ryul, brown hair, smiles warmly as she sits comfortably beside her grandmother in the ruins.
Ryul remains silent, her eyes filled with curiosity about Grandma's next move.
Narration warns that a dungeon will appear on the first snowfall and Ichon will die. Grandma asks if Ryul still needs dark ether for her friend, which Ryul confirms. Shimmering text explains the item is modeled after an artifact called Nitocris's mirror.
A liquid pouring sound as Grandma breaks the mirror, releasing a dark purple fluid.
Ryul, brown hair, screams in shock as Grandma deliberately breaks the precious silver mirror.
Grandma remembers a friend she once wanted to help but missed the chance. Grandma looks at Ryul with a gaze full of wisdom and unspoken determination.
Ryul, brown hair, looks up expectantly, waiting for Grandma to finish her meaningful thought.
A system chime sounds as a 2-star black pendant infused with dark ether appears.
Chibi Ryul cheers excitedly about finally obtaining an item infused with rare dark ether.
Ryul marvels at Grandma's ability to create the item so quickly despite the devastation.
2 police officers visit Grandma's hospital bed to discuss the investigation into the fire.
Ryul, brown hair, asks Yuhyun if the culprit behind the attack will ever be caught.
Yuhyun, black hair, glasses, reassures her they will be caught, putting Ryul's mind at ease. Ryul reflects on how much more reliable Yuhyun has become since their first encounter.
Ryul shakes her head, telling herself to stop thinking about Yuhyun's changing vibe.
A quick splash sounds as Ryul considers when to give the new pendant to Ichen.
Ryul calls out to her friends as she arrives back at the cafe entrance. Ryul, brown hair, is confused when she finds the cafe interior empty and quiet.
A rustle sounds as a voice notes that Ryul has returned home earlier than expected.
A man with long silver hair sits holding the calico cat, surprising Ryul. Ryul screams the name Kwon Ji-woon in total shock at the silver-haired man's appearance.
Shimmering text explains that items break easily once they have served their intended purpose. The name Kwon Ji-woon flashes as Ryul's realization of his true identity sets in.
Ryul looks stunned as she questions the silver-haired man's unexpected presence in the cafe.
Kwon Ji-woon credits the pets for entry as the calico cat and red slime confirm his story.
Ryul asks why he came so late, but he claims he was simply passing through.
Surprised, Ryul's inner thoughts focus on her cousin Kwon Ji-woon's sudden and unexpected visit.
Kwon Ji-woon looks at the calico cat while maintaining a silent and calm demeanor.
Ryul apologizes for her overreaction while Ji-woon asks if he said something to offend her.
Shimmering text reflects on the fact that the two are cousins who have rarely interacted. Ji-woon prepares to leave, his hand grasping the door's electronic lock handle. Ryul feels conflicted about letting her cousin leave after he waited so long for her return.
Ji-woon turns his head slightly, his silver hair catching the light from the cafe. To Ryul's surprise, Ji-woon casually agrees to her unspoken request for him to stay.
Ryul stares in wide-eyed shock at his unexpected and easy compliance with her request.
Ryul asks if he's busy with guild duties, but Ji-woon claims he has free time.
A quick rustle sounds as Ryul begins to fasten her apron to start her shift. Standing in the cafe kitchen, Ryul ponders what kind of drink she should make for him.
A system notification appears as Ryul looks on with a curious and slightly confused expression. A glowing blue window announces that a system process is now 100% complete.
A celebratory chime sounds as a notification declares the dimensional shop feature is officially unlocked.
Ryul questions the shop's purpose, and the system explains its connection to various other dimensions. Shimmering text explains that the system allows for the purchase of rare and interdimensional items.
The cat suggests the shop unlocked for coffee making as Ryul watches the screen intently.
The shop menu displays basic ingredients like fresh milk, vanilla powder, and caramel syrup.
Ryul and the cat feel underwhelmed by the rare items that look like everyday groceries.
A special deal alert offers a new user bonus for instant purchases within the system. The main quest, Barista's Path, requires 5 basic drinks for menu expansion and rare rewards. Ryul decides to attempt making the required drinks immediately to fulfill her new quest requirements.
Shimmering text describes her cafe as a world contained right within her own hands.
Ryul carefully pours milk into a cup, focused on crafting the perfect beverage for her cousin.
A caramel macchiato's status window reveals its special property to clear a random status effect.
The vanilla latte's properties guarantee a critical hit chance for the next skill used. Jaboon expresses surprise at her skills, while Ryul admits to using her coffee-making abilities.
A quick gulping sound echoes as Jiwoon begins to enjoy the freshly made beverage.
Jawoon notes that her coffee consistently makes him feel better as he continues to sip.
A soft clink sounds as Jiwoon sets his cup down and addresses Ryul by name.
Jiwoon brings up his previous suggestion about moving her cafe to the first floor of his gelt.
Ryul firmly refuses the offer, leading Jiwoon to quickly drop the topic of her moving.
Jiwoon observes that he understands her connection to the place much better now that he is here.
A nostalgic memory shows young Ryul and her cousin laughing together with their grandmother. Jiwoon continues to drink his coffee, his expression softened by the warm atmosphere of the cafe.
Ryul looks back at him, her face filled with a mixture of complicated and thoughtful emotions.
Sunlight streams through the window as Ryul quietly acknowledges her cousin's words and feelings.
A clatter sounds as Ryul sets down full food bowls for her pets on the floor.
The cat and slime happily devour their meal as Ryul watches them with a soft smile. Ryul smiles softly, though a hint of lingering worry remains in her brown eyes.
Narration reflects on Jiwoon's visit while the cafe counter remains quiet and tidy after his departure. Ryul worries that Jiwoon seemed slightly off and hopes everything is all right with him.
A system chime sounds as a new notification catches Ryul's immediate attention in the room.
The system awards a random skill point for her achievement in escaping a second brush with death.
Ryul's thoughts spiral as she wonders why she keeps encountering dangerous near-death situations while running a cafe.
A blue screen displays her current skill list, including Barista's Brew, Barista's Eye, and Smile.
Ryul Brownhair worries about leveling up her useless mood and cleaning skills.
A finger presses the claim reward button on a glowing blue screen.
A system window announces that the shiny floor skill is now level 2.
A heavy thud sounds as Ryul dejectedly laments her constant bad luck.
A sudden slip sounds as a bare foot slides across the tile.
The pets cheer happily as they slide across the sparkling, slippery floor.
Ryul Brownhair laughs, pleased that her pets enjoy the slippery floor. A quick clatter sounds as a voice calls out to Ryul. Aichin Blondehair arrives and cheerfully announces that he has finally arrived.
Ryul welcomes Ichon while he marvels at the cafe's sparkling clean slur.
Ryul Brownhair notes that her friend has arrived ahead of schedule.
Aichin Blondehair awkwardly scratches his neck while responding to her comment.
Ryul Brownhair watches him with a look of quiet, focused curiosity.
Aichan Blondehair explains that his curiosity led him to the cafe. Chibi Ryul enjoys a caramel macchiato that provides her with a boost.
Ryul Brownhair feels the awkward atmosphere and remembers her gift. Ryul offers Ichan coffee, mentioning she has new items on the menu. Ichan Blondehair looks surprised as she serves him a decadent beverage.
Ryul asks Ichan to provide an unbiased opinion on her 3 coffees.
The cat notes the quality ingredients while Ryul admits they taste better.
A system window reveals that Café Mocha significantly increases recovery speed. A notification explains that a cafe latte restores a portion of stamina.
A blue window states that a cappuccino restores a portion of health.
Aichan reacts with wide-eyed shock while tasting the delicious coffee creations. Aichan praises the smooth coffee while Ryul watches him with a smile.
A chime sounds as a notification confirms the main quest is complete.
The system warns Ryul that the quest reward is too large.
A notification explains the reward will appear near the staff entrance.
A thud sounds as the pair hears a noise from storage. A quick click sounds as a hand turns the door handle. Ryul Brownhair looks into the room and questions the new object. An artifact window reveals a cafe sign designed to attract new customers.
Chibi Ryul is shocked to find a large sign in her storage.
Aichan Blondehair says she should have told him about the sign. Chibi Ryul frantically tries to stop Ichan from hanging the new sign.
Ichan stands on a ladder, insisting his newfound strength makes work easy.
Ryul Brownhair is moved by Ichan's kindness despite her secret embarrassment. Chibi Ryul regrets choosing a random name for her business so carelessly. Aichin Blondehair asks Ryul to check if the sign's straight.
Ryul Brownhair stares intently at the cafe's new exterior with disbelief.
Ryul wonders if the sign's magical properties are already attracting people's eyes.
Ryul cheers happily, confirming to Ichan that the sign is positioned perfectly.
Ryul Brownhair clutches her bag and thanks Aichan for his help. Aichan Blondehair reminds Ryul that he has a special diff too.
A status window describes coffee jelly that induces an immediate caffeine addiction.
Ryul Brownhair presents the jelly and the pendant to her friend.
Narration recalls Ryul's previous investigation into Ichan's potential S-rank abilities.
A blue screen describes an unacquired skill that relies on caffeine addiction. A notification details a skill that provides a long-lasting dark attribute defense. Narration explains that specific items can unlock 2 powerful S-rank skills.
Ryul Brownhair instructs Aichan Blondehair to consume the jelly only before entering a dungeon. Ryul Brownhair stammers while explaining the item's protection, secretly feeling like a cult recruiter. Ichan Blondehair holds the gift back, reassuring Ryul that her words aren't strange.
A man with blonde hair smiles warmly with a gentle blush across his face.
Clasping the bag tightly, Ichan Blondehair offers Ryul a sincere word of thanks.
Chibi Ichan laughs joyfully while a flustered Ryul reacts with a wide, shocked mouth.
Night falls over the city as a voice urgently calls for the guildmaster.
2 young hunters in matching jackets huff while running, discussing someone's personal hunt.
Yuhyun Darkhair listens as a companion pleads for them to slow their pace.
A single sharp command rings out into the darkness, emphasizing the need to hurry.
A narrator explains that the person who attacked was searching for a specific ring.
In a hospital bed, an elderly man reveals the target is Real's ring.
A jagged notification warns that someone is actively hunting for Real's mysterious ring.
Yoohyun dark hair supports the injured artisan, noting the attacker used a very special weapon.
A blood-spattered, well-maintained hunter's knife lies abandoned on the cold, gray floor.
A heavy creak sounds as Yoohyun dark hair enters a dark room with arms outstretched.
A trailing thought reveals that the evidence leads directly to a specific house.
In a messy kitchen, the two young hunters realize the suspect has already fled.
A quick thud sounds as Yoohyun dark hair tells the others to stand back.
Yoohyun's hand glows with a golden grid-like energy as he activates a tracking skill.
A system warning cautions that excessive intervention might trigger resistance from the laws of causality.
A chime sounds as the system confirms that matching information has been successfully located.
Footsteps sound as the young girl asks if he is truly the guildmaster.
A close-up reveals Yoohyun's intense purple-tinted gaze focused on a hidden discovery.
Hidden in a drawer, an envelope bears the distinct sunburst symbol of a secret organization.
Yoohyun identifies the symbol as clear evidence that the Wisdom of the Stars cult is active.
Activating a portal, Yoohyun Darkhair informs his team he must leave immediately.
Stepping through the portal into ruins, Yoohyun Darkhair vows to protect her from danger.
Standing before the cafe, Yoohyun Darkhair ponders a countermeasure for the looming threat.
A sharp creak sounds as the cafe door begins to swing open.
Yoohyun Darkhair looks up with a start, his eyes widening in surprise.
Real brown hair peers out from behind the door, surprised to see him standing there.
Chibi Real ponders the simple yet elegant touch of her new business sign.
Darkness settles over the world as a notification marks the end of the day.
Real brown hair washes dishes while wondering if I-chan made it home safely.
A sudden bright flash and hum startle Real brown hair in the middle of her work.
A loud creak sounds as Real brown hair opens the door to investigate the noise.
Yoohyun Darkhair stands alone in the dark night, looking toward the cafe entrance.
Real brown hair stares at him with wide-eyed shock, her mouth hanging open.
Real brown hair asks Yoohyun what has brought him to her shop so late. Yoohyun Darkhair explains that he stopped by simply because he was craving her coffee.
A long creak sounds as Real brown hair quickly invites him to step inside.
Real brown hair rushes around the kitchen, flustered by his sudden arrival and compliment.
Yoohyun Darkhair notices the new sign, which Real proudly confirms she installed that day.
Real brown hair steals a concerned glance at her visitor while preparing his order.
Real brown hair notes to herself that Yoohyun Darkhair appears much more exhausted than usual.
Real brown hair softly calls out to get Yoohyun's attention as he waits.
Internal text suggests that pairing an Americano with a bean cookie effectively reduces stress.
Real brown hair presents a plate of cookies and coffee, inviting him to try them.
A soft slurp sounds as Yoohyun Darkhair sips the drink and considers the stress relief.
The dark-haired man reflects on how the drink clears his mind.
Yoohyun Darkhair praises the delicious cookie while a satisfaction gauge appears.
A progress bar on the screen reaches nearly full at 98.
Real brown hair doubts the coffee's perfection despite his polite praise.
A window details a skill that allows copying drinkers' abilities.
Narration mentions one of Yoohyun's most frequently used special skills.
Thoughts describe how his golden energy grid alters the surrounding atmosphere.
A question hangs in the air regarding Yoohyun's favorite beverage.
Real brown hair determines to discover Yoohyun's dark hair ultimate taste.
Yoohyun dark hair admits he enjoys most drinks and asks why she inquired. Real brown hair realizes he has no specific preferences.
Real brown hair excitedly offers to prepare several more coffee samples.
Yoohyun Darkhair accepts her offer, making Real brown hair feel very appreciative.
A quick clatter sounds as Real frantically brews several different coffee samples.
A chime sounds as the satisfaction bar remains stuck at 98.
Real brown hair continues her trial by testing more nutty flavors.
A soft slurp sounds as Real realizes her latest attempt failed.
Real brown hair laments the missing satisfaction while Yoohyun thanks her for the kasser.
A quick click sounds as Yoohyun sets down the empty cup.
Yoohyun Darkhair asks if any suspicious people have approached the cafe recently.
Yoohyun Darkhair listens as Real confirms everything has been normal. Yoohyun notes the lack of ominous energy, wondering about their trackers.
Real brown hair asks if danger is nearby, but Yoohyun reassures her.
Yoohyun Darkhair offers payment, but Real brown hair insists the coffee is free.
Real brown hair explains that a friend helped her install the sign.
Yoohyun dark hair remarks on the sign's impressive and noticeable signs.
Chibi Real brown hair wonders if he is curious about her friend.
Real explains her male friend is very sweet, while Yoohyun looks awed.
Real brown hair remembers her mission to provide items for her friend.
Yoohyun Darkhair asks if he can visit the cafe more frequently.
Yoohyun dark hair plans to stay close to investigate the area further.
Real enthusiastically welcomes him to stop by the shop at any time.
Yoohyun Darkhair tells himself his frequent visits are strictly for protection.
A swirling, hazy purple mist shifts the scene to a new moment.
Yoohyun Darkhair smiles gently, repeating that his motive is purely protective.
Sunlight gleams against a rooftop as a soft laugh echoes nearby. A loud shout rings out, calling for the cat to come outside.
Real brown hair wears gardening overalls and a hat while investigating the noise.
A cardboard delivery box sits on the pavement outside the shop. Real brown hair and her pets find a package from Grandma Duck.
Tomato Calico Cat eagerly asks if the box contains something to eat. Inside the box, stacks of takeout cups accompany a thoughtful handwritten note.
Real brown hair admires the magic cups while Tomato questions their quantity.
A hand holds the note, suggesting it may take years to use them. Real brown hair expresses relief that the elderly lady has been discharged.
Real brown hair feels the shop is finally ready for the opening.
White flakes drift down, making Real realize that it is actually snowing.
A thought notes the extreme rarity of snow during late October.
The realization sinks in that the first snowfall has arrived early.
Real brown hair stares in disbelief at the unseasonable and sudden snow.
A sudden buzz sounds as a phone vibrates in her back pocket.
An emergency system notification alerts have a high-grade dungeon shockwave in Suwon City.
Real brown hair stares at her phone in horror, her heart thumping rapidly.
A quick clatter sounds as Real's straw hat and boots are abandoned on the floor.
A soft click sounds as Real brown hair turns on the television news broadcast.
A reporter brown hair announces that an F-rank dungeon has mutated into an A-rank.
The news report details children trapped in the rift and a lone hunter's rescue attempt.
A heavy gulp escapes as Real brown hair learns the rescuer is likely E-rank. Real's heart sinks as she realizes that Ichon has entered the dangerous dungeon.
Real brown hair regrets not personally placing the protective pendant around her friend's neck.
Real brown hair clasps her hands tightly, desperately praying for her friend's safe return.
A loud crunch sounds as a defeated monster lies bloodied within the dark dungeon.
Aichin blonde hair stands exhausted, struggling to breathe while holding his blood-stained sword.
A shaky breath is drawn as Ichon blonde hair resolves to find the children.
A childhood memory surfaces, showing a young Ichon being comforted by a mysterious hunter.
The memory reveals Ichan's lifelong desire to become a hunter who saves others.
Aichin blonde hair looks down at his hand, feeling frustrated by his current weakness. Aichin blonde hair wonders if he will survive, longing to taste her coffee again. Aichin blonde hair suddenly remembers the special gift his friend gave him recently.
Aichin blonde hair inspects the gift bag containing coffee jelly and a small box.
Aichin blonde hair considers trying the jelly as he was instructed to do.
A soft munch sounds as Aichin blonde hair eats the jelly, feeling its energy.
A sharp gasp escapes as Ichan's blonde hair eyes widen with a sudden realization.
A loud ring sounds in his head as Ichan blonde hair clutches his temples.
A heavy thump resonates as Ichan's heart races while his body undergoes a transformation.
A mysterious glowing orb in the darkness asks if he is seeking more power. Aichin blonde hair remains dazed and overwhelmed by the strange presence in his mind. Aichan blonde hair looks around the dark stone chamber, questioning the source of the voice.
A low hum emanates as the pendant beneath his shirt glows with brilliant purple light.
A sudden flash occurs as Aichin blonde hair notices the intense light from the pendant.
Aichan blonde hair finds himself floating in a cosmic void, connecting with a powerful deity. The mysterious cosmic voice demands an answer to its offer for greater strength.
A soft whir sounds as Ichan blonde hair stares intensely into the divine light.
Aichin blonde hair firmly declares his desire to accept the offered power.
Real brown hair looks startled as the television broadcast announces a major update.
The news report confirms the A-rank dungeon is stabilized and the children are safe. A chorus of sobs sounds as the frightened children emerge from the glowing red portal.
A camera shutter snap sounds as reporters gather to capture the savior's appearance.
The crowd gasps in disbelief at the sudden and shocking revelation of the rescuer's identity.
Aichan blonde hair emerges as a new S-rank hunter radiating a heroic aura on television.
A loud gasp sounds as Real brown hair watches the screen with wide-eyed shock.
Chibi Real and her pets are stunned by the news of her friend's S-rank status.
Aichin blonde hair nervously introduces himself to the swarm of reporters on live television.
Aichan blonde hair awkwardly provides his age and blood type during the overwhelming interview.
Real brown hair watches in disbelief as her friend struggles through his first public appearance.
Real brown hair feels a wave of relief seeing her friend alive and uninjured.
A heavy flump sounds as Real brown hair slumps onto the sofa with her pets. The news report details the 3 major guilds competing to recruit the new S-rank.
Real brown hair listens as Tomato Calico Cat remarks on her friend's new celebrity status.
Reporters persistently ask Aichin blonde hair which guild he intends to join.
Aichin blonde hair politely declines all guild offers for now while holding his glowing pendant.
The brown-haired woman looks shocked and asks if he is already affiliated with another group.
Aichin blonde hair touches his pendant and says he wants to help at the cafe for now.
Real brown hair looks surprised as Ichan mentions his plan to join a guild much later.
Real brown hair wonders why her cafe's name is being mentioned by everyone. An online forum post asks where Choi Ichan is affiliated, and a user mentions a cafe.
Users discuss how the broadcast station bleeped out the specific name of the cafe.
Aichan blonde hair cries and prays for forgiveness after causing a scene.
Aichin explains he mentioned the cafe because it popped into his head, while Real says it is okay.
Real brown hair comforts him by saying staying alive and becoming an S-rank is more important.
Aichin blonde hair says things got weird after eating the jelly, making Real brown hair curious.
Aichan blonde hair animatedly describes his experience while Real brown hair listens intently.
Real brown hair expresses her relief while preparing a new treat.
A close-up shows the dessert being placed onto the powder.
Real brown hair serves the treat, and Aichen blonde hair exclaims how much he wanted it. A sudden, low hum sounding shifts the scene to a man watching the cafe through binoculars.
A dark-haired man peers through the lenses and asks if that is the place.
Kim Tae-woon, dark hair, lowers his binoculars and identifies the target as Café Liol.
The reporter introduces himself as a gossip magazine journalist, often called a trash journalist.
He notes that the whole industry is currently looking for the newly awakened S-rank hunter.
Kim Tae-woon, dark hair, claims he successfully tracked down the hero through his own field investigation.
Kim Tae-woon, dark hair, writes in a notebook, reflecting on his years spent as an F-rank.
The man believes an S-rank hunter who does not care about money or power simply cannot exist.
He jots down potential motives like crime or fame, questioning what Aichen actually wants.
Text mentions the specific cafe that the hunter claimed to be affiliated with.
The man looks at the cafe sign and wonders if he should begin his investigation there. A thought suggests that if the shop is legitimate, he must change his approach.
Kim Tae-woon, dark hair, enters the shop, deciding to approach the situation as a regular customer.
Real brown hair and Ichan blonde hair both look completely shocked by the new visitor.
Real brown hair nervously welcomes him as Ichan blonde hair hides his face in his hood.
Kim Tae-woon, dark hair, notes how startled the hunter is just by a customer walking in.
The man suspects the shop is a disguise for a place with a much different purpose.
He wonders if the cafe is an illegal black market trading spot or a raider hideout.
A quick click sounding as the man walks, confident he has already caught their scent.
Real brown hair smiles brightly, unaware of the man's suspicious pops.
The man orders coffee while secretly wondering if the brown-haired woman is an accomplice. Real brown hair says it will be a moment as her pets peek from the doorway.
A soft clatter sounds as the order is served to the dark-haired man.
The man sips his coffee, intending only to avoid suspicion while Real brown hair watches him. A soft gulp sounds as the man sips the beverage. Several quick crunching sounds echo as the man begins eating the cookies.
Kim Tae-woon, dark hair, is genuinely surprised by how good the coffee and cookies are.
Aichen, blonde hair, says goodbye as the reporter realizes the target is leaving.
A soft click sounds as the man sets down his empty cup, feeling frustrated.
Kim Tae-woon, dark hair, resolves to return tomorrow to finally uncover the shop's secret.
Tomato Calico Cat asks Real if there is something bothering her lately.
Real brown hair mentions the customer who visited 5 days in a row, whom Tomato calls suspicious.
Real argues he is their first regular, though Tomato notes he is also their only customer.
Real brown hair expresses worry because the customer's satisfaction gauge is always stuck at 60%.
Real brown hair looks at the gauge and wonders why it refuses to go up.
Tomato Calico Cat dresses as a detective and suggests the man has a shady ulterior motive.
Real brown hair defends her regular customer's motives while holding a crying Tomato Calico Cat as a sharp yelp sounds.
Tomato Calico Cat suggests the man might simply dislike coffee, causing Real brown hair to react with sudden shock. An examination of the menu board confirms that every single beverage offered by the shop is coffee-based.
Real brown hair agrees with Tomato Calico Cat that the coffee-only menu explains their customers' low satisfaction.
A clear ring sounds as Kim Tae-woon, dark hair, enters the shop, immediately noticed by the brown-haired woman.
The dark-haired man surveys the interior of the cafe with a deeply suspicious and calculating look.
Real brown hair politely greets the visitor as he continues his intense field investigation of the shop.
The brown-haired woman offers a bright, welcoming smile to the man she considers to be her first regular. Kim Tae-woon, dark hair, is shocked by her greeting and believes his suspicions about her secret identity are confirmed.
Real brown hair enthusiastically announces her plan to create a unique non-coffee drink especially for him to enjoy.
The dark-haired man is visibly flustered and urgently asks when he should return to try the new drink. Real brown hair suggests a week's time for preparation, which the dark-haired man quickly accepts before leaving.
Kim Tae-woon, dark hair, agrees to return later and departs as Real brown hair bids him a polite goodbye.
A soft sigh escapes as Chibi Real regrets not taking an order before the mysterious customer left so quickly.
A blue system window appears over the shop door, assigning a subquest to create a new non-coffee menu item. Real brown hair is amazed by the sudden quest and the fact that a recipe was automatically provided to her.
The system displays a lemonade recipe requiring purification tree fruit, magic sugar, and carbonated water to complete.
Real brown hair is baffled to find that the official lemonade recipe contains no actual lemons as ingredients. Chibi Real brown hair expresses her frustration over the weird quest and the unknown nature of the fruit.
Tomato Calico Cat admits total ignorance as the scene shifts to the exterior of Café Liol at night. A soft hush sounds as the scene focuses on a close-up of Ichan's blonde hair lower face.
A low hum sounds as the purple pendant glows and a mysterious divine voice addresses its contractor.
Ichan blonde hair looks troubled as the voice demands an answer to its previous offer for greater strength.
A heavy breath sounds as Ichan blonde hair reflects on his inability to tell Ryul about the mysterious necklace.
Ichan blonde hair stands in a cosmic void, worrying that asking about the gift would force a difficult explanation.
A soft step sounds as Ichan blonde hair walks away, choosing to ignore the mystery for now. A thought bubble emphasizes his simple desire to relax and continue helping his friend at the cafe.
Real brown hair looks startled but happy as Ichan blonde hair arrives at the shop during the day. Ichan blonde hair mentions avoiding persistent reporters and offers to help clean up the cafe to pass time.
Real brown hair accepts the help but asks about the contents of the heavy bag he is carrying. Ichan blonde hair claims the purchase was casual, but the woman suspects he was pressured into buying things again.
A soft gasp sounds as real brown hair looks into the bag and reacts with wide-eyed shock.
A glowing blue fruit sits atop a pile of bananas, confusing the brown-haired woman with its strange appearance.
Chibi Kim Tae-woon, dark hair, suspects the new menu offer is actually a secret code for a covert meeting.
A recruitment notice for various translator and editor positions appears over a dark purple background.
A system window identifies the blue item as purification tree fruit, noting its cleansing powers and refreshing taste.
Real brown hair urgently calls out her friend's name to get his attention regarding the strange blue fruit.
Real brown hair looks intensely at the glowing blue fruit she is holding with a determined expression. A hand holds a document confirming the certification of a dungeon farm specializing in dungeon botany and plants.
A thought bubble admits an expectation for something ordinary while lush greenery fills the surrounding background.
A massive and ornate glass conservatory appears, far exceeding the woman's initial expectations for a simple farm.
A loud creak sounds as real brown hair opens the grand conservatory doors and calls out a greeting. A loud crash sounds as real brown hair enters the quiet greenhouse and frantically asks who is there.
Lee Choruk, green hair, appears flustered and insists she has already paid all her overdue utility bills.
Real brown hair clarifies her intention to buy something, which leaves the green-haired woman absolutely shocked.
Lee Choruk, green hair, excitedly welcomes her first real customer after many bad encounters with a rude hunter. Lee Choruk, green hair, introduces herself as the farm owner while leading real brown hair through the flowers.
The green-haired woman claims her methods are scientific, which the brown-haired woman doubts after seeing blood type charts.
The brown-haired woman explains she is specifically looking for more of the mysterious and glowing blue fruit.
Lee Choruk, green hair, identifies the blue item immediately as the rare and valuable purification fruit.
Choruk, green hair, explains that the fruits are out and asks if a seedling is acceptable.
Choruk, green hair, gives a thumbs up, enthusiastically recommending the plant for her home.
A heavy thud sounds as real brown hair realizes that the offered plant is incredibly expensive.
Real brown hair decides to check other places as the green-haired woman begs her to wait. Chibi Choruk, green hair, offers 2 free carrot fangs as a special bargain for her service.
Choruk, green hair, looks intensely determined and frustrated while clenching her teeth together in silence.
Choruk, green hair, finally gives in and agrees to lower the seedling's high price.
Real brown hair asks if 40 rubies is acceptable, leaving the green-haired woman absolutely shocked.
A bright star shines as the 2 women finalize their deal with an enthusiastic high five.
Choruk, green hair, goes to pack the plant as Real explores the greenhouse while we here. Real brown hair wanders through the garden, deciding to look around during her wait.
A sudden pause as real brown hair hears someone nearby mumbling about another failure.
Real brown hair looks back in surprise, hearing someone mention that they had failed again.
A red-haired man laments that he cannot manage the plant using only his own power.
A sharp gasp sounds as the red-haired man catches sight of the intruder behind him.
The red-haired man turns and demands to know who she is while Ryul looks startled.
Cedric Redhair yells that no customers ever come here, while Chibi Real notes the rudeness. Real brown hair stares closely at the man, thinking that he looks incredibly familiar to her.
Real brown hair points a finger at the red-haired man as he stares back with annoyance.
The man assumes she is a fan while Real brown hair repeats him in total confusion. The man says he is busy and begins signing a paper to end the interaction.
Cedric Choi, red hair, hands over his signature with a very dismissive and arrogant expression. Chibi Cedric, red hair, yells about her not taking the signature, confirming her bad opinion of him.
Real brown hair wonders why someone famous like him is present in the quiet greenhouse.
A blue system window identifies the legendary 5-star blue sereno flower as being currently wilted.
Real brown hair looks at the plant and wonders why it is so close to dying.
Cedric Choi, red hair, yells at her to leave, claiming his autograph is more than enough.
Real brown hair stares at him, realizing he is the famous hunter Cedric Choi.
Choruk, green hair, runs over, warning the man not to harass her first customer in months.
Cedric, red hair, demands she revive the flower, while Choruk, green hair, defends her only visitor.
A low buzz sounding as the red-haired man's phone vibrates while he looks visibly frustrated. A sharp gasp sounds as the red-haired man reacts with shock to his phone screen. A quick step sounds as the man turns away, telling Ryul that he is leaving first.
Choruk, green hair, checks if she was harmed, while Ryul asks about the special flower.
Choruk, green hair, explains that hunter Cedric Choi entrusted the rare pot to her care. The green-haired woman notes the flower is rare and extremely difficult to make bloom. A flashback shows Cedric red hair rushing as he explains his desperate reasons for the treasure.
A loud bang sounds as a door near the information desk is thrown wide open.
A pained groan sounding as Rona brown hair lies in a hospital bed, hurting.
Cedric Choi, red hair, leans over his sister Rona, asking if she is in much pain.
Cedric red hair yells at medical staff to treat Rona properly as she suffers seizures.
The red-haired man remains silent as his face reflects deep worry and internal struggle.
Cedric Redhair thinks blooming the flower could finally ease his sister's terrible suffering.
The red-haired man feels completely powerless and frustrated that he cannot do anything to help.
A soft sniff sounding as Cedric Redhair cries quietly into his clenched hand. The man desperately hopes his sister can endure her pain for just a little longer. A recruitment notice for various translation and editing positions appears above a chapter release announcement.
A pained sounds as Real Brown Hair walks through the city at night.
Real Brown Hair walks home frustrated that she ended up taking the gross carrot tooth freebie.
Real Brown Hair decides she must carry the item because it feels too gross for her inventory.
Real Brown Hair turns in surprise as someone calls out her name. Yuhyun Dark Hair peeks from behind a wall, greeting Ryul after hide-in.
Real Brown Hair questions what Yuhyun is doing in the dark alleyway.
A close-up reveals Yuhyun's dark hair flustered reaction to being spotted.
A soft voice speaks as Yuhyun Dark Hair addresses the woman by name. Yuhyun pulls Real aside, asking for a moment of her time.
A frantic dash sounds as silver-haired twins run past, calling for him.
Real Brown Hair suspects Yuhyun is abandoning the kids searching for him.
The silver-haired twins express frustration at Yuhyun's attempt to avoid them. The twins corner Yuhyun, demanding he not try to escape again.
A soft gasp sounds as Real Brown Hair peeks at the confrontational twins. A sharp crack sounds as Real's greeting leaves the twins frozen.
A flashback shows a man establishing a strict no-touch rule.
The silver-haired twins realize Real is the woman their leader mentioned.
A sudden bow sounds as the twins enthusiastically greet Real Brown Hair.
Real Brown Hair identifies them as the famous twin hunters of Chungra Guild.
Narration details the twins' future identities as powerful, cold-hearted hunters. A grim vision depicts the older twins as blood-stained, ruthless warriors.
Real Brown Hair introduces herself to the currently blushing and adorable twins.
The silver-haired twins get flustered and argue over what to call her. Real Brown Hair reflects on how such cute children eventually become gloomy.
A soft strain sounds as the twins offer to carry her back. Yuhyun Dark Hair decides to leave with Ryul while the twins stay.
A giant spiked tower rises into the night sky under the title.
A soft heartbeat sounds as Ryul notices Yuhyun's Dark Hair sly behavior.
Real Brown Hair accuses Yuhyun of using her to escape the twins.
Yuhyun Dark Hair laughs off the accusation as they walk through town.
Real Brown Hair recalls his earlier promise to visit her shop often.
Yuhyun smiles warmly, overwhelming the woman with his handsome appearance.
Real Brown Hair expresses deep concern for the young kid's outlay.
Yuhyun Dark Hair looks serious as he reminds her they are hunters.
Real Brown Hair insists that strong bodies do not equal strong minds.
A small chime sounds as Ryul Brown Hair notices his pensive expression.
A light grip sounds as Yuhyun Dark Hair carries her heavy bag. Narration explains that high-ranking hunters often lose their sense of humanity.
Yuhyun Dark Hair asks if she still believes children always need protection.
A close-up shows Yuhyun's Dark Hair intense eye as he hears her.
Real Brown Hair confirms that adults must always protect all children.
A small hum sounds as Real asks why he looks so pensive.
Chibi Real Brown Hair teasingly asked if he was moved by her.
Yuhyun Dark Hair admits he was genuinely touched by her kind perspective.
A sharp gasp sounds as Ryul reacts to his unexpected sincerity.
Chibi Real Brown Hair worries that he took her playful joke seriously.
A quiet hush sounds as the scene shifts to the night sky.
Back at the cafe, Real Brown Hair feels relieved the topic changed.
Yuhyun Dark Hair stands at the counter, watching the woman work.
Yuhyun Dark Hair asks if the previous customer wore a fishing vest. Yuhyun Dark Hair inquires about when the man will try the menu.
A heavy thud sounds as Yuhyun reveals he is free that day.
Chibi Real Brown Hair happily invites Yuhyun to try the new menu.
The scruffy reporter lurks outside the door, noting that today is finally the day.
He sits at the cafe counter with a serious expression, waiting to be served.
Real welcomes the new customer with a bright and cheerful greeting.
The man asks if he can finally try the special menu they discussed previously.
Real happily confirms she can prepare the request for him immediately. Real heads to the kitchen while the reporter waits expectantly at the counter.
A vibrant ice-filled lemonade garnished with lemon slices is served. Narration introduces the cafe's refreshing new lemonade menu item. The customer stares at the simple drink with total disbelief and confusion.
He questions if this basic lemonade is truly the special menu she mentioned.
A humorous vision shows Chibi Yuhyun strictly retraining the guild's over-enthusiastic fan club members.
A promotional illustration features Ryul and Yuhyun together as Chapter 39 begins.
Real and the reporter appear in a transition panel announcing the next chapter's availability. The reporter insists he knows this is no ordinary cafe despite its appearance. He notes that the nation's top hunters visiting the shop is proof of its importance.
He argues that cafes are never found in such dangerous, ruined locations.
Ryul tries to laugh it off, claiming the man must be mistaken about her shop. She points to her pets, insisting they are just an ordinary cat and swine. A soft tisk sounds as the reporter points out that normal cafes lack monsters. Frustrated by the lack of a real deal, the man prepares to leave. He refuses to waste time while Ryul panics about losing her potential quest reward. Ryul reaches out and firmly catches the man's shoulder to stop his departure. She begs him to stay and try just a single sip of her creation. A pained sounds as the annoyed reporter begrudgingly takes a drink.
He internally scoffs, wondering what could possibly be so special about the beverage. His eyes widen in sudden shock as the drink's true effects take hold.
The reporter is struck by the realization that he has been living his life incorrectly. He reflects on his past aspirations as a journalist and his current clickbait career. He realizes his true purpose has always been within him as he tastes the lemonade. Tears well up as he discovers that true journalism lives within his heart.
System windows announce a bond has been formed and the man's heart is purified.
Chibi Real watches in complete bewilderment as the customer breaks down in tears.
Yoo-hyun enters the shop, noting that Ryul already has a customer present.
The reporter gasps in recognition, stunned to see the powerful hunter in person.
Yoo-hyun greets the man casually while the reporter decides to leave in a hurry.
The reporter vows to write only truthful articles as he departs the cafe.
Real asks Yoo-hyun if he knows the man while reflecting on the odd encounter. Real returns to her work, promising to make Yoo-hyun's coffee after cleaning.
Real recalls the quest reward and decides to check the latest Aether Wiki update.
A blue system window provides instructions on how to bloom the blue Seleno flower.
Real realizes this is the exact flower Choi Cedric has been trying to save.
She notes how the system always provides information at the most convenient times.
Real wonders if the system is operating with a very specific, hidden intention.
She angrily concludes that the system's real goal is to work her to exhaustion.
Real pushes her frustration aside to carefully study the flower's growth requirements.
A girl with curly green hair and a beret looks on in total surprise.
The green-haired girl urgently insists they go to the garden right now.
She laments failing to revive the flower regardless of the methods she tried.
Ryul watches the desperate girl cry, realizing how much the flower means to her.
They arrive at the greenhouse where the red-haired Choi Cedric demands an explanation.
Cedric recognizes Ryul, who sharply clarifies that she is not his fan. Cedric questions her intentions as she stands defiantly within the quiet greenhouse.
Ryul claims she has discovered how to save the dying flower, shocking Cedric.
Cedric angrily dismisses her claim, questioning how she could succeed where experts failed.
Ryul demands a chance to prove herself as Cedric watches her intently. Ryul challenges Cedric to consider how he will react if she actually succeeds.
Cedric complains about her informal speech while Ryul points out he started it.
Cedric begrudgingly moves aside, demanding she show him what she intends to do.
Ryul approaches the wilting plant with a focused and determined expression.
A soft glow sounds as Ryul apologizes to Cedric and begins her spell.
Ryul ignores his warnings as she prepares to use her unique regenerative power. A sharp scream sounds as Cedric panics while the plant pot catches fire. The farm owner begs Hunter Choi Cedric to calm down and release Ryul.
Cedric yells in fury, demanding to know why she dared touch the flower. Ryul urgently interrupts his anger, telling him to look at the blooming plant. The pair watches in total disbelief as the dead flower begins to revitalize.
System windows reveal the reporter's new article writing and stealthy target tracking abilities.
Cedric is stunned into silence by the sudden and impossible restoration before him.
A system notification identifies the legendary 5-star blue Seleno flower has bloomed.
A moment of quiet awe passes as Cedric realizes the flower has returned.
Cedric reflects on his sister Rona finally being freed from her constant pain.
A sharp crack sounds as Cedric wonders what is happening to the pot. A loud crash sounds as massive roots burst forth and destroy the pot.
Cedric warns of an impending rift as the greenhouse begins to shatter around them.
A soft gasp sounds as a dark void suddenly opens beneath Ryul's feet.
Cedric and the farm owner watch in horror as Ryul is swathed.
The scene shifts as the portal consumes Ryul before their very eyes.
A sharp scream sounds as someone falls through the dark and swirling abyss.
A pained sounds as Ryul lands hard on a floor of tangled roots.
Ryul investigates her dark surroundings, noting the bumpy floor and the terrible stench.
A sharp scream sounds as another voice echoes through the dark, damp cave.
A system alert confirms Ryul has entered the dangerous monster hell dungeon.
A soft squelch sounds as a carnivorous plant monster devours a large insect.
The predatory plant finishes its meal within the dark and oppressive root forest. Ryul weeps in terror, wondering if the dungeon will soon melt her alive. A soft thud sounds as Cedric appears, reminding her they must find the flower. Ryul is relieved to see Cedric, though they realize the farm owner is missing.
Cedric questions her about the dungeon while Ryul insists she only wanted help.
Narration explains the flower's regenerative power was the cause of its root issues.
A soft cough sounds as Cedric acts awkward while Ryul looks away sheepishly.
Cedric prepares to draw his sword, promising to protect her as his repayment.
A sharp ring sounds as the nation's second-ranked hunter draws his powerful blade.
Ryul cheers for Cedric while he focuses on clearing their path through the dungeon. Ryul admits Cedric is a jerk, but appreciates having such a powerful companion.
Ryul wonders about the chaos occurring outside since the dungeon's sudden appearance.
A soft rush sounding as Ryul follows Cedric deeper into the root forest. A loud crackle sounds as Cedric's electrical strike clears the path of monsters. Ryul feels the physical toll while hoping to encounter the main bastion.
Cedric offers a rest period as Ryul struggles to catch her breath while walking.
A soft sigh sounds as Ryul expresses her relief after finally taking a break. A blue system window displays an inventory containing a water bottle.
Real searches her inventory for instant coffee mix while resting with Cedric. Cedric looks away blushing while apologizing for his earlier rough behavior.
A soft tap sounds as Real activates a glowing system window. Chibi Cedric notes she held back from breaking his neck earlier. Real's desperate wish for coffee triggers a reactive system notification.
Real reflects that Cedric is kinder than news reports suggested. A sudden chime sounds as Real unknowingly wins a gacha item. The 4-star simple coffee making kit allows coffee preparation anywhere.
Real admits the new tool is useful despite the missed animation. Cedric is baffled when Real offers coffee instead of a potion.
A professional coffee set appears with a magical, sparkling flourish. Real proudly declares her identity as a cafe owner to Cedric.
A system window describes the portable kit's coffee-making capabilities.
Real promises Cedric he will understand the value after a taste. Ice cubes clink as they fall into a cup of coffee.
Real presents a prepared cup with a bright and welcoming smile.
3-star iced Americano prevents stamina consumption during skill use.
Cedric takes the cup, noting it's his first time drinking underground.
Real considers making herself a vanilla latte to pass the time. Real asks about the young girl pictured on a phone screen.
Cedric confirms the girl is his sister and his current wallpaper.
Real realizes the girl is the sick sister Chorok mentioned previously. A blue system window outlines the iced Americano's beneficial stamina buff.
Coffee is poured as Real notes Cedric's unexpected doting nature.
Real reflects on the meaning of a normal, caring family. A silver-haired man considers his future relationship with the sleeping girl. Real wonders if Kwon Ji-woon prefers their current awkward tension. Real remains seated on the ground deep in silent contemplation.
Chorok trembles in terror as she witnesses the dungeon's awakening.
A system notification officially confirms that a dungeon has opened. Authorities cordon off a massive glowing red pit in the greenhouse.
Internal thoughts express shock that the dungeon seed actually awakened.
A fanged man explains the integrated nature of the dungeon seed. He claims the seed provides nourishment for the blue tar. The fanged man offers the seed while Real questions her choices.
Real ponders whether her relationships will remain awkward and strained.
The fanged man describes the seed as a special integrated case. He details how the seed will revitalize the blue Selena far. Kwon Ji-woon arrives as Chorok and guards react in shock. Ji-woon looks worriedly at the scene and asks about the status. A heavy thump sounding signals the arrival of a powerful presence.
Chorok is stunned to see the White Silver Guild's top hunter.
A report confirms a civilian named Reol is trapped inside. Ji-woon prepares to enter despite warnings that Cedric is inside. A guard frantically warns Ji-woon that he cannot enter the rift. The glowing red rift poses a permanent danger to anyone entering. Ji-woon questions why such a dangerous, artificial rift exists here. Chorok stammers as Ji-woon demands to know how this happened.
Ji-woon orders an immediate investigation of the farm and its management.
Cedric and Reol discover the elusive flower deep within the dark forest. A system window identifies the B-rank plant-type monster as Monster Hell. A shockwave clears the area as Cedric complains about the annoying dungeon. Cedric battles ferociously while Real cheers for their impending escape. Cedric confidently predicts that their exit route will open very soon. A sharp crack sounds as the monster's damaged parts begin reattaching.
Cedric yells for the monster to die as he repeatedly attacks.
Cedric is shocked that the monster revives instantly without a cooldown.
Real watches in terror as a massive, gnarled branch approaches her. Real discovers the reason for the monster's constant, unnatural regeneration. The blue Seleno flower is perched atop the monster's highest branch. Cedric stares in utter disbelief, questioning why the flower is there.
A dull thud sounding indicates a heavy blow from the monster.
A loud crash sounding follows as Real frantically checks on Cedric.
Cedric prioritizes the flower, knowing it is the key to saving Rona.
Cedric refuses to attack the monster to avoid damaging the flower.
A soft rustle sounds as Real warns that only defending is dangerous.
Real stares ahead with an expression of pure, unadulterated shock. A disgusting swarm of large insects crawls over the monster's roots. Real panics, wondering how a trowel or skill can stop bugs. A soft whish sounds as Real throws her trowel in frustration.
Real falls as her cleaning skill makes the floor begin sparkling.
A bright flash sounding accompanies a wave of purifying blue light.
Real is stunned to see her own reflection in the floor.
Real notes with amazement that the floor is now incredibly clean.
A loud clatter sounding startles Cedric as the floor becomes slippery.
Cedric is impressed by the unexpected power of Real's cleaning skill.
Cedric urges Real to grab the flower so they can escape.
The monster's massive eye narrows as it prepares for another attack.
A sharp rattle sounding marks the arrival of a wooden prison.
Cedric is annoyed that the monster still has enough power left. The monster threatens them while Real plans to detach the flower. Real checks her skill list and notices the barista's extraction ability.
Real wonders if she can extract the flower without damaging it.
Real asks Cedric how long it's been since they've drank coffee.
Real asks Cedric to briefly open a way through the prison.
A low rumble sounds as Real insists there is no time.
A sharp slice sounding follows as Cedric cuts through the wooden bars. A quick dash sounding marks Real's jump toward her only chance.
Real activates her barista's extraction skill with a focused, loud shout.
A system window warns that this extraction is extremely difficult.
A bright hum sounding as real confirms she will definitely proceed.
A massive burst of energy credits her success to a latte. A system notification confirms that the vanilla latte's effect is active.
The system guarantees a critical hit for Real's next skill use.
The blue Seleno flower is successfully extracted from the monster's branch.
A bright flash sounding signals that the difficult extraction is complete.
Back in the greenhouse, Cedric and Reels celebrate their impossible success.
Real is amazed that the skill could extract a specific tanjik.
Cedric is stunned by her performance as they safely exit the dungeon.
Real senses a heavy atmosphere as Quan Ji-woon addresses her by name.
Ji-woon demands to know why a non-hunter is present at the dungeon site.
Real is struck with intense shock as she recognizes her brother's sudden arrival.
A soft cough sounds as Real resolves to reveal the truth eventually.
Real resolves that this unexpected meeting is the time to address her brother.
Real bravely confesses to Ji-woon that she has officially awakened her hunter powers.
Heavy thuds sound as legal investigations and penalties crush the farm's corrupt management.